smart speakers or video streams that are up and rolling on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, whatever the case may be. A big thanks for making us a part of your starts on this January 29th. What do we got on a good old game plan for us here this morning? Well, it's a late night last night, if you were watching the Bucks game, or if not, but the Bucks falling to the Portland Trailblazers last night. Giannis putting up 39 points, but it wasn't enough for the Bucks to pick up their 27th victory of the season. So Bucks will continue their West Coast trip coming up on Friday. A little West Coast, kind of moving a little bit more into the mid part of the country here, but nonetheless, let's call it a Western Conference trip. How about that Western Conference trip here? But they'll pick that back up Friday when they take on the Spurs. But yeah, Portland completing the season sweep over the Bucks last night. Yeah. Giannis, as we mentioned, 39 points, also had 12 rebounds. Dame, 20 points, 6 assists for him. Middleton, after coming off of a fantastic game against the Jazz, just 15 minutes, only shot the ball twice, no points for Chris Middleton. Just really, especially like second quarter, second half on, Bucks just kind of seemed a little lackluster, a little lack of energy. I mean, they jumped out to a first quarter lead, but then after that, it was like Portland kind of showed maybe their youth and their energy and took it to the Bucks there. But outside of Giannis and his 39, Dame and his 20, it was pretty uneventful. Not a lot of other contributions there. So, but we'll talk some Bucks. We'll keep you posted on some of the more trade rumors and rumblings as we are inching just a little bit closer to the trade deadline coming up next week, next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. So we'll talk some hoops. Speaking of hoops, Marquette did pick up a win against Butler last night. Badger basketball will be in action as they take on Maryland on the road. So Badger hoops are also back in action tonight. It is Wednesday, which means it's WIAC basketball action. You've got Blue Gold men's and women's teams taking on River Falls. The men's team will be on the road. Women's team will be at the Sonotech tonight. You've got Stout taking on La Crosse too. So got WIAC basketball action coming at you tonight. So we'll talk some hoops throughout this morning. What else do we got on the good old game plan for us this morning? We'll talk some green and gold as we continue our off-season self-scouting series with the pack. So as a reminder, we've hit up the coaches, we've hit up the wide receivers, the corners, the defensive linemen. We've hit up offensive line. Yesterday, we've hit up the linebackers. We're going to go back to the offensive side of the ball today. And we're going to look at running backs. Now, we know who's on top. It's Josh Jacobs. And again, remember, with these self-scouting off-season series, we're looking back at last year with an eye towards the future, too. So we know Josh Jacobs, fantastic this past year. I think, is it fair to say maybe just a little bit exceeded some expectations? I'll be honest, he kind of exceeded my expectations. I did not think Green Bay would finish the season like top 5, close to top 5 for a big chunk of the year and running the football. But they did, and I thought he was absolutely fantastic this year. Now you look at coming up this, not only just this year, but for the next couple of years and for this offseason, you've got some decisions to make because we didn't get to see Marshawn Lloyd, the rookie running back out of USC, a whole lot. We got to see him for a couple plays. I mean, even in training camp or preseason, didn't get to see him a whole lot. So we just need the guy healthy. So he kind of missed out in this whole year. It's almost like he's restarting his rookie year this upcoming season. But was a round 3 pick. Figure, could he be maybe the explosive type back there? But you got Emmanuel Wilson who flashed, and he's kind of been the preseason MVP for the last couple of years. You got Chris Brooks, who they really like. He showed some flashes. In fact, he kind of played a little bit of a hybrid fullback, running back type of role. And part of me is wondering if he kind of filled that role for A.J. Dillon, because I think a lot of us, I was one of them, thought this past season heading into this year was like, okay, maybe A.J. Dillon kind of transitions into a fullback type of role and you utilize him that way. And maybe that's what Chris Brooks was for this team this past year. And A.J. Dillon's going to be a free agent. And we know he's the mayor of Door County, but it sure seems like he won't be back in Green Bay. Or do you try to bring him back as your third back? What do you do with the depth behind you, knowing that it's going to be Jacobs, it's going to be Lloyd, but if you had to pick between the three, okay, assuming Green Bay will carry 3 running backs, minimum 3. We'll just keep it at 3. Assuming Green Bay carries 3 running backs, you have to pick between Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks, or bringing back A.J. Dillon, who we did not see at all this year. Who would you go, or who would you bring in? Who would you bring back? Okay, think about that for a little bit before we get to our offseason self-scouting series there. But speaking of football, it doesn't seem like former Packers coach Mike McCarthy will be coaching this season. There was only one job left, and he was kind of attached to it. But according to reports out there, he will be sitting out this year. And we see this happen with when jobs are getting limited and such. And then, you see a coach kind of take their name out of it. I think part of it might be a little bit of a PR type saving move. Like if you don't get that job, does it, how does it kind of view you for your stock, essentially? So, but he is taking his name out of the running for the Saints job and focusing on 2026. A source told NFL Network and confirmed by ESPN. So, but yeah, we're just waiting on the Saints opening, and right now it sure seems like that might be coming up after the Super Bowl. And Kellen Moore, he might be staying in New Orleans after the Super Bowl next weekend. We'll see how that all plays out, but we'll throw some football chats into this equation as well. I have a couple of kind of fun topics to talk about with football here too. So we'll get to that. It is stock reports. So stock reports are due. Whose stock is rising? Whose stock is falling? All right. Whose stock is rising? Whose stock is falling? Make your picks now. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. Or hit me up on the video streams. You can comment on the video streams. Let's get that puppy rolling over there too, and join the chats over there. So that works as well. I might throw a little baseball talk in here too. I mean, nothing new in terms of the Brewer side, but we've been kind of doing some offseason stuff. We talked a little bit about Jackson Chourio and his projections and expectations for this upcoming season. We did that on Monday. We talked a little bit about Garrett Mitchell. And could he be the breakout player this year for the Brewers this upcoming year? So as we get a little bit closer and closer to pitchers and catchers reporting in spring training and such, we'll talk some baseball to kind of get into a little bit of a baseball mood now that the football season's wrapping up. We're still in the NBA season, but, not quite to the All-Star break yet. We're a little over halfway through the regular season, but I think once we get maybe after the All-Star break, people start to really kind of get into March Madness with college hoops and then pay a little attention to the NBA and such over there too. So we'll throw some baseball chats into this as we get a little bit closer, because every day, it's been every day this week, I don't know why, or every couple days, my little guy's been asking, Dad, who's going to be the shortstop for the Brewers? Well, if it's Ortiz, who's going to play third, Dad? And I think we're all kind of like, yeah, don't know, dude. We'll see. Might be kind of an open competition out there, or maybe it's somebody that's not with the team yet. So, but we'll throw some baseball chat in this just to mix it up here a little bit. Try to cover everything for us here this morning, and whatever else you want to talk about. All right, whatever else you want to talk about, hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or again, comment on the video streams over there. What else is on your mind too? Maybe you're still sick and tired of baseball, because in case you didn't hear, the Dodgers again making a free agent signing a $13 million deal with closer Kirby Yates, a 1-year, $13 million contract. Was one of the best relievers in baseball last year, even at the age of 37, a 1.17 ERA in 61 and 2/3 of an inning, striking out 85, walking 27, saved 33 games for Texas. So, yeah, another free agent signing for the Dodgers. There you go. They got offense, they've got defense, they've got pitching. Yuck. Oh, man. I hate it. I hate it. All right, let's get things rolling here this morning, shall we? We'll talk some hoops, we'll talk some ball, we'll talk some football and all that good stuff. And whatever else is on your mind on this Wednesday morning. Don't forget, though, to send me those stock reports, okay? Hit me up with those stock reports. Quick break. We'll get things rolling here on the leadoff. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. At Carpet City Flooring Center, they know that the right flooring can change everything, whether it's the cozy feel of a new carpet in your living room or the timeless elegance of luxury vinyl planks in your dining room. Your floors set the stage for life's moments. Their team of experts are there to help you out with so much experience and a passion for finding the perfect flooring for your style and needs. From the latest trends to classic designs, they offer a wide selection of carpets, laminate, and luxury vinyl, and they can even help you with remodeling your shower too. Yeah, they do that. When it comes to installation, they got you covered. They're professional installers, ensure every detail is handled with care. So all you have to do is enjoy your beautiful new space. Stop by Carpet City Flooring Center today and let them help you bring your vision to life. Because at Carpet City, it's more than flooring, it's where life happens. Just visit them today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. All right, last night we saw the Bucks falling to the Portland Trailblazers 125 to 112. Bucks continuing their Western Conference trip right now. It was pretty much Giannis last night and Dame putting up 20, and it was pretty quiet after that. But we are inching ever so close to the NBA trade deadline a week from tomorrow, and it's probably every day we get another rumor or another report for various teams, various players, and for the Bucks too. And Mark Stein, per NBA insider Mark Stein, the Bucks are, quote, as determined as any team on the NBA map to make at least one trade before the deadline. So the question is, though, who? Who is that? We've thrown out so many different names. Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine. But maybe they need some more size up front. You look at maybe like last night's game, too. You got Brooke and you got Giannis, but Bobby Portis has been out. Do they need a little bit more size in the front court? Well, if they need more size in the front court and Bobby Portis is mentioned as a possible trade candidate, then you're limiting that, or you're making it even worse over there. But again, it's Mark Stein talks more about Jimmy Butler and the Bucks. Reading a little bit here, says that Milwaukee would first have to shed Pat Connaughton's contract. Getting rid of Connaughton's contract could be achievable in a trade for Butler if the Heat want it. The Bucks also have two players that would likely be appealing to Miami in Chris Middleton and Bobby Portis. The Heat are on the brink of a playoff contention and could likely stay in the postseason race with Middleton and Portis on the roster. Again, I don't know if I want the Jimmy Butler. You look at the history of Jimmy. If you have, first of all, age-wise, Jimmy Butler, you're probably going to only have for a couple of years. The other part, so maybe that kind of alleviates the short welcome that Jimmy Butler usually has in every stop that he has, right? I mean, Minnesota, we know what happened there. Philly, we know what happened there. Chicago, kind of the same thing. Now it's going on in Miami and such. So but again, it's when it gets to the playoffs, Jimmy's been pretty darn solid when it's come to the playoffs, and that's where the Bucks have struggled there a little bit. Here's the thing: if it happens, I'm like, okay, cool, great, let's go win some ball games now. But man, and then we talked a little bit about Zach LaVine yesterday, and there's been a little bit more chit chat surrounding the Zach LaVine and Bucks connection. Casey Johnson of Chicago Sports Network says there appears to be a legitimate trade interest from the Bucks to trade for Zach LaVine. So, and then this was again from Mark Stein. Sources tell the Stein line that LaVine, who has put himself in contention for a third career All-Star selection with a strong play for the Bulls this season, would prefer to remain in Chicago. LaVine's name has been featured league-wide trade chatter virtually all season after the Bulls' month-long quest to trade him in 2023 to 2024. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different names being floated out there when it comes to this trade deadline. And honestly, it's going to continue to get louder, wider, bigger, more smoke out there the closer and closer we get to next Thursday. Let's do a little bit of a vibe check if you're a Bucks fan. Vibe check in terms of, do you think they will make a trade before next week's deadline? Do you think the Bucks should make a trade before next week's deadline? Again, I think if you answer this question, can they beat the Celtics, the Cavs, or the Knicks in a 7-game series? If you answer no, then maybe that's the answer to the question whether they should make a trade or not. Because that's the only thing that matters, right? Is getting to the finals and winning another championship. Right? That's the only thing. And if you don't think they can with this current roster, then what are the moves that they got to do to improve that roster to beat the Celtics, the Cavs, or the Knicks in a playoff series? Is it Butler? Is it LaVine? Is it Beal? Is it more front court help? Where's that at? Where's that going to be at? I still feel like the Bucks are going to make a deal. I guess I'm still a little skeptical on. I'm just a little skeptical on how big of a move they're going to make. Like, I don't know if it's going to be a big name or not, because there's so many different pieces that they have got to do to get to that point to be able to acquire something. I mean, you're talking about shedding Pat Connaughton. It might be a couple trades. You might have to ship Pat Connaughton to somewhere else, and then move package Middleton and Portis together for one guy, and then you're talking about depth there a little bit too. And it's like, and remember, this is an older team. How much do you want to use a lot of energy for the postseason? So I'm a little concerned in that end if they're giving up a lot of talent for one guy. But the caveat to it all is, again, going to be, what does Giannis sign off on? Is he good with any of these? Because if he's not, I doubt it's going to happen. Every move, every step you make, every move you make, Giannis will be watching you. He will be trying to approve it. He will be trying to do, your Bucks aren't doing anything without the Greek Freak's approval. Because if they piss him off, then you can imagine all of that talk out there about, he's going to be on the move. He's going to be on the move. So give me your vibe check, Bucks fans. Do you think they need to make a move? Do you think they're absolutely have to make a move? Like 10's like absolutely has to make a move. 1, nah, stand pat sort of thing. What do you think? Hit me up with a text or comment on the video stream with your range over there. Let's switch gears here just a little bit because I want to get some things in here in the first hour because we got a busy couple of hours coming up after that. So I want to switch gears here a little bit and pick up where we left off for our self-scouting off-season self-scouting series when it comes to the green and gold. So looking at the running backs, again, with an eye towards the previous season and an eye towards this offseason and upcoming season. Josh Jacobs, looking at this past year, Josh Jacobs was the man. Is it fair to say Josh Jacobs was your best offensive playmaker this year? I think that's fair to say. Ends up finishing 6th in the league in rushing yards, 1,329. 6th in the league in carries, 301. 4th in the league in touchdowns with 15. Averaged 4.4 yards per carry. I'll be straight up. That exceeded my expectations. The fact that we were just outside the top 5 and for a big chunk of this season in the top 5, even top 3 in running the football. It's been a while. I mean, we've had 1,000-yard rushers and such, but to have those type of numbers, it's been a little bit in Green Bay. And a lot of it was because of, well, you had to with Jordan Love banged up and such. So heading into next year, he's going to be, well, in fact, he's going to be 27 here on February 11th. So still fairly young at, I know running backs age a little bit differently, but still 27 coming into this following year. We know he's at the top of the depth chart, number one. Uno numero one. Numero uno one, whatever. After that, there's maybe a little bit of intrigue. Now, Marshawn Lloyd, he's going to be, I think, if he's healthy, which hopefully he is this upcoming year, but he's going to be your number 2 back. Green Bay selected him fairly early in the draft, a day 2 pick. And there's expectations, fairly high expectations for Marshawn Lloyd to be a big-time contributor for this offense. If he would have been healthy this year, would Jacobs' numbers been down? Would it have been a little bit more of a running back by committee? I mean, I think Jacobs' numbers might have been down just a little bit, but I don't think it would have been an even split by any means. Now, could it be a Montgomery and Gibbs type of role with these two guys? I think maybe that's the ceiling or the highest of possible outcomes over there. But I think what Marshawn Lloyd potentially brings to Green Bay is gonna be a little bit more of a, you know, maybe a little bit more of a big play or kind of an outside runner sort of thing, Josh Jacobs in between the tackles, kind of the wrecking ball, type of back. And I was looking at his draft profile from last year, a little bit earlier, and his player comp was like a Jerick McKinnon. So it and one of the write-ups for him was he's a good complementary option with big play potential. And I think that's a nice compliment to a running back with the running style of Josh Jacobs. So Marshawn Lloyd's a part of this equation. You just hope that the guy can stay healthy. After that, you've got a couple of different options. You've got Emmanuel Wilson, who this year, with more of a role, finished with 502 yards on the ground rushing, 4 touchdowns, a 4.9 average. A little bit more of an expanded role for Emmanuel Wilson this year, and that was because of no Marshawn Lloyd and no A.J. Dillon, and we'll get to A.J. Dillon here in a second. But we also got to see Chris Brooks for a little bit, and, I mean, only a buck 83 on the ground for him on 36 carries, but we saw Chris Brooks in a little bit of a hybrid H-back type of role this year for Green Bay. On the field a little bit for blocking purposes and such, and you could tell just by watching games and hearing Matt LaFleur that they really like what Brooks brings to the table. Some of that versatility there. And remember, this is a guy too, he spent a hot minute with the Dolphins. Was it last year, I think, when they were just decimated by injuries? He had over 100 yards. Yeah, it was, when was this game coming? Let me see if I can bring it up here. That thing's being slow. But anyway, so he spent the hot minute in 2023 with the Dolphins there. So could that versatility help him out? And I think he may have played a role similar to what they probably envisioned for A.J. Dillon this year. Because A.J. Dillon, I think a lot of us were kind of maybe hoping to see would he transition into like a fullback type role or an eight-back type of role with his size in that. You bring in Josh Jacobs. You draft Marshawn Lloyd. You bring back A.J. Dillon. So what's that role? Maybe it's like an H-back, fullback type of role over there. But the neck injury that held him out all year and a big chunk of the preseason, I think because of that, you're not gonna see A.J. Dillon back in Green Bay. We know Green Bay historically has been cautious with those with, like, neck injuries and those type of injuries. Now, I haven't heard of any long-term concerns, issues with A.J. Dillon. I know A.J. Dillon just kind of looking on his social media posts and all that. Seems like he's getting ready for this season. I think he would prefer to stay in Green Bay, the mayor of Door County. I mean, everything, all the above. But when you look at you've got your top 2 already with Jacobs and Lloyd still gonna get another shot at this, and you saw the production from an Emmanuel Wilson this year. You saw maybe a little versatility from Chris Brooks. I think AJ Dillon's on the outside looking in, and that I hate saying that because I like AJ Dillon. Like one of my kids, or he's my kids, one of his favorite players. So I mean, he's gonna hate that and such. But you look at injury with that neck, and remember too, last year he was dealing with some stuff and came back, and then with this injury here too. I don't see Green Bay bringing him back. So if you had to pick one of those three, who's it gonna be? And gosh, it's hard not to look at the production that Emmanuel Wilson brought to the team in his opportunity. I mean, 4.9 yards per carry. I think kind of a quiet 500 yards on the ground rush. And the thing is he's actually a little bit bigger than Chris Brooks, too. But I think they view Chris Brooks as maybe a little bit of a home run type of player, home run threat over there. So, but I think if I'm basing it straight off production, I'm probably keeping Emmanuel Wilson if I had to pick between these three. Now, it is very possible that Green Bay could draft another running back, maybe a day 3, late day 3 pick, and, you go a little bit younger of a route there, and then Emmanuel Wilson's gonna have to try to win a job again in preseason because he's been, like, the preseason MVP for the last 2 years here. But given what we've seen from Emmanuel Wilson, I mean, I would have no problem if Green Bay brings him back. You look at the loss against Chicago, the man had 73 yards on the ground that day. I mean, he was one of the bright spots from that day, and that was, Josh Jacobs. They sat him out for half the game. But I thought Wilson had a very solid year. And I'm very curious to see how much, and this is kind of towards an eye, having an eye towards the next season, with Green Bay really focused on running the football this year. And a lot of it was because they were forced to with Jordan Love's injury. But we saw the impact that Josh Jacobs had on this team. How much did it affect, because been this talk, did it affect Jordan Love in the passing game a little bit? Did they get away from passing a little bit too much? And did that affect them a little bit on the offensive side of things? I get some of the arguments that are out there. I understand it and such. Matt LaFleur talked about it in the season-ending presser that they had more success running the football out of shotgun. But I feel like for Green Bay and LaFleur is gonna, I'm just going back to his presser where, the whole play action thing was a big question out there. And LaFleur's like, "Well, there's still different ways for play action." Essentially, he was saying, a lot of us view play action as a typical under center, turning it around, quarterback taking the ball, turning around, fake handoff, blah, 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 and he said there's other parts to, play action. It could be whether your offensive lineman's actually run blocking and then you're throwing kind of from he was going into detail, kind of like a coach would at that point. But I think what I would like to see from the running game is maybe some more running from under the center next year. And again, that could be the factor of Jordan Love and his knee injury and affecting that and all that good stuff there. But I'd like to see that, and I think you're gonna have more success from the play action game from that standpoint. But I'm very curious to see if Green Bay next year is gonna be super hyper focused on the running game again with Josh Jacobs, and if Marshawn Lloyd is out there and healthy and involved in the offense. Or are they gonna try to get this passing attack a little bit more consistent and better than what it was this year? But overall, I think the running game heading into next year is gonna be a strong point for Green Bay. I think that's gonna be one of the things that they can hang their hat on. They have Jacobs coming back. Knock on wood, he'll stay healthy again next year. You have him as your bell cow back. You know you know what you got with your running game. I think when we look at this team overall and you say, "Okay, what are the areas that you're fairly comfortable with, that you're like, 'Okay, I'm good with.'" I'm good with it, or I'm confident in it. It's probably the running back group or the running game, and a lot of it is because of number 8 and Josh Jacobs, and also, you factor in the offensive line and such in there too. But we saw this past year the premium on running backs, especially, still veteran running backs and how much makers they can be. I mean, for crying out loud, you have one team in the Super Bowl right now that is in the Super Bowl. I think a big reason why is because of their running back in Saquon Barkley. So the running game is still a premium in this league. I mean, we've gone in cycles. The NFL is a cycle. At one point, there were teams didn't give a rip about running backs. It was all passing. Now here we go again. We're back to running the football. Defenses are going to adjust, and I guarantee you, we're going to be back to, well, there's a lot of throwing. Defenses will adjust, then they're going to go back to running. It's just a cycle. It's a circle. But I think we're all pretty confident in saying that, okay, this is one group that we're pretty confident in that, okay, we're going to be able to run the football next year. And that's going to be curious too. How do teams next year game plan for Green Bay? Is it going to be straight up right away? They're going to focus on stopping the run and focus on stopping Josh Jacobs. And if that's the case, that puts a little bit more pressure on the shoulders of Jordan Love in that passing game. And you're paying your quarterback that amount of money, you flipping better be able to take advantage of that if you're getting some passing looks. Better be able to. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll finish up the first hour. We'll get to some of your comments and all that fun stuff. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Coming up on Saturday, February 15th at the VFW Club 305, doubles cribbage tournaments. So if you all calling all you cribbage players out there, registration 12 p.m. Play begins at 12:30 p.m. Cost just $10 per person or $20 per team. Food will be provided. More details at the VFW Club 305. But all you cribbage players out there, mark it on your calendars. Saturday, September 15th, registration beginning at noon. And again, if you're looking for somewhere to watch the big game, you can head on over to the VFW Club 305 for their big game party, 4 to 8 p.m. Nacho bar, brats, hot dogs, all you can eat for just $15. And don't forget, today is Wednesday, so it's Wing Wednesday, 10 bone-in or 1-pound boneless wings with a variety of sauces and crinkle fries for just $12. Brian's on our video stream. What up, Brian? The Bucks have been missing that closing type of player. I love Giannis, and he is a Hall of Fame player, but he does not have that Air Jordan Mamba killer instinct when the game is on the line. Adding Butler would give this to the Bucks. That could help put them over the top. Losing Middleton would stink, but injuries have kept him out of the playoffs, and we can't afford to lose a key starter again. I think, the other part, though, too, I would add to that, Brian, is maybe where I think there's some trepidation about getting a guy like Jimmy Butler. Are you willing to also lose Bobby Portis for that? Because it's not going to be just Middleton. It's probably going to have to be Bobby Portis. So if it costs you Middleton and Bobby Portis, and if you're already struggling a little bit with front court depth, are you willing to make that move then for Butler? And again, I think it's all gonna depend on whether Giannis signs off on it, and I'm still pessimistic about that. I'm still pessimistic that he's gonna be, "No, you're not moving on from my best friend. You're not moving on from my BFF in Middleton." You mean I that that it's an issue I have with sports, like a lot of fans. It's like, you got players that run teams and have big influences. The NBA is probably the biggest one in that because I think it's become so individualized. And certain players, especially in markets like Milwaukee, where you're just desperate to maybe hold on to your superstar and all-star players. But it's the fact of the matter right now. It's how the NBA is in 2025 right now. But if it was just straight up Middleton and Butler, for me, yeah, I'd have no problem. It's the Portis part that makes me a little bit nervous, especially since they don't have a backup plan for some front court depth. They don't have another option over there. And for what it's worth, yes, Brook Lopez has been fairly healthy throughout his career, but again, I get nervous facing those teams that can really take advantage of him on the defensive side if they can play on the outside. If you're going up against a center that just kind of lays down on the block or stands down on the block, well, then that's fine because Brook Lopez is a very good interior defender. But his weakness is when you've got a big man that plays on the outside. At least Portis can do a little bit of that. Uh Jeff says Packers are in a great position with Josh Jacobs and the running game. Could we get a draft pick or two out of Chris Brooks? I doubt it since I mean, essentially he was like a practice squad player and such, so I would doubt you'd get anything in return for somebody like Chris Brooks. Let AJ Dillon walk and make Emmanuel Wilson number 3. AJ Dillon is a leader, and we need that on the team as well. Tough call either way. Yeah, I like AJ Dillon. I like him a lot. It's just the neck injury thing has been kind of quiet. I mean, they called it a stinger, I believe, in preseason, and I believe he had a s if memory serves me, he had a stinger that ended his season last year, and then preseason, he had another stinger, and they said he was done for the year, and when I hear neck injuries and you're done for the year, I get a little nervous. I mean, we've had plenty of Packers players that have gone through some neck issues and it's ended their careers. I don't know if it's a career ender for AJ Dillon, but I mean, Come on, Sterling, Jermichael, Nick Collins. We've been down that road before. Again, that's where my mind goes right away. Not saying that's what it is, but I think for a lot of Packers fans, when you hear neck injuries and done for the year and that's where your mind goes. And if it's anything like that, Green Bay's not bringing him back. And maybe he wants to get it. Maybe there will be a team out there that's willing to give him that shot. Who knows? I hope he can still play because I hate it. I hate seeing players who have to call it a career because of injuries. Something that they're forced to do because of injuries. That's what sucks. Is seeing those players in any sport having to call it a career because of an injury. And some of them too. When we see that on TV, it doesn't even look like a big hit, right? I mean, the Nick Collins one, I still remember it going up against Carolina. I don't think anybody at that time thought that's a career ender, right, when it happened, because it didn't look that big, right? It wasn't like a big hit or landing too awkwardly or something like that. And it stinks, especially for Nick Collins, because I really think Nick Collins was on a Hall of Fame path. And it took a long time for Green Bay to find that hole, fix that hole at that safety position. It took them a bit. Heck, maybe they finally got it with Xavier McKinney. I mean, they've gone through different ones. They've drafted Clinton-Dix. They have Morgan Burnett was there. Morgan Burnett was pretty darn solid for a while. Was he a playmaker like a Nick Collins? No, but he was solid back there. First-round pick. Didn't live up or didn't play up to what they were hoping. Then, Darnell Savage, they let him go after a few years, and now maybe they finally got one with Xavier McKinney. Who knows? I feel fairly confident with Xavier McKinney right now. So, all right, we'll talk some more green and gold coming up in the next hour. I want to talk some baseball as well coming up a little bit later on. We'll get back to some more hoop stock. We've got Badger basketball back in action tonight, taking on Maryland. So Badgers on the road, the 17th ranked Wisconsin Badgers. As whether or not we're starting to wind down in the regular season here for college basketball. And next week's February, we only got about a month left of the regular season for college basketball. Flying on by. We talked a lot yesterday with RJ Cardinal and the offense that we have seen from this Badger basketball team so far this year. I mean, they're scoring almost 10 points more than the 2014 team that went to the national championship. They're averaging more assists than that team. So if you haven't been watching some Badger games, pay attention. However, even though Wisconsin's visiting Maryland and Wisconsin's the right team, Wisconsin's a 5.5-point underdog in this game. 5.5-point underdog. It opened up as a 4.5. Now I see it as a 5, a 5.5. So it's going to be a good test for the Badgers. But you look at the last few games here too. We'll break it down a little bit later, coming up here for the Terrapins and Badgers. But we'll finish up with Morgs. Good morning.
It is a bummer when people get injured and that's what ends their career, especially when they're otherwise doing well and it's not a player issue, or if they're a really good asset to the team and have a good attitude and stuff. That's even worse. You're like, oh, come on. It's unfair, man. Yeah. Do you know today is National Curmudgeon Day?
I heard it on your news.
It's your day. So do you have a favorite curmudgeon? Because it made me think of this when I was little. You know how kids have a favorite character? Yeah. Like I grew up watching. It shows that you probably didn't watch it, obviously, My Little Pony and stuff like that. But
what do you mean? I watched those. Yeah.
Care Bears. Yeah. I did Turtles. I did that kind of thing. But on Sesame Street, ever since I was really little, I was terrified of Miss Piggy. Blew past Elmo. No Time for Big Bird. Even my birthday parties from the time I was like 2 on were Oscar the Grouch themed. I loved Oscar. It was my favorite. Yeah. I had a stuffed Oscar. I had the cake. I had the slippers. I loved Oscar. Did you have any affinity for any cranky characters from any shows?
As a kid?
Yeah, because on your Wednesday wild card, I have some random characters for you if you can match the show. But was there anybody that you latched onto?
I would probably not.
No?
I mean, would you count Raphael? Sometimes he was kind of cranky.
Was he the crankiest turtle in the? Okay, we'll say that then. We'll allow
like in the song, it says Raphael has an attitude, sort of thing. So,
you're Michelangelo's party dude.
And party dude, yep.
I do remember that. So when it comes to characters overall on TV, Do you relate to the curmudgeons like the Dr. Cox and that kind of thing?
Not really.
No?
No.
I think you do because of okay, if I say Stanley, what show are we talking about?
Stanley?
Yeah.
Oh, Office. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
so
Yep.
every show kinda
Yep.
has one, right?
Yep.
All right. So Frank Burns, do you know where he's from?
Frank Burns.
The cranky guy from it's an
Is it?
older show.
Uh, yeah. Simpsons, right?
No,
No,
that's
no,
Mr.
that's Mr.
Burns.
Burns.
That's
Frank Burns.
Mr.
Frank
Burns.
Burns.
Which, by the way, side note, Conan,
Yeah.
favorite character to write for was Mr. Burns because he was rich and got to be mean. He had a lot of money.
Was it Saturday Night Live then, or what?
No, Frank Burns is MASH.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Frank Burns. Okay.
What about Red Foreman?
Oh, that's that '70s show,
Right,
or
right.
the '90s one if you're watching the Netflix one, whatever.
What about Al Bundy?
Oh, Married with Children.
Archie Bunker.
I've heard of it, but I don't know the show name.
Married with Children. Yep.
Married with Archie Bunker?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
All in the Family.
All in the Family. There we
Al
go.
Bundy.
Yeah, Al
Married
Bundy.
with Children.
Yeah,
You're right. You're
okay.
right.
Scared me there for a minute.
All right.
So,
Other cranky dad, Martin Crane.
Martin Crane.
Same last name as a famous character from Cheers. I'm gonna be done with hints after that.
I don't know.
From Frasier.
Oh,
You remember
yeah.
that? And he had Eddie the
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
had, like
yeah.
yeah,
The
okay.
Walker. Okay.
Yep.
5
Fred Mertz,
seconds.
taking you way back to the black and white, though.
I Love Lucy?
Yes! You
One
got
on
it!
that one, yeah.
No one's crankier than you, though.
Bearing and the downright cranky.
Hey, buddy, the next one's on me. Because
Today is all about you.
for Sports Talk 105.1, I'm Morgan McCarthy.
Similar to the past few mornings, those temperatures are mild yet again out the door, ranging from the upper 20s to low 30s. As we head through the midweek, expect a partly to mostly sunny sky, light breezes, temperatures above average in the mid 30s. For tonight, clearing skies, lows dip to the mid 20s before we reach for records yet again tomorrow, highs near 50, plenty of sunshine, cooler on Friday. On 13 First Alert, meteorologist Derek Dolman.
It's time for some ag news here on Sports Talk 105.1. Cargill Incorporated has reached a $32.5 million settlement in a broad class action lawsuit over price fixing in turkey production across the nation, according to a court filing. The case comes from a collection of companies that buy large volumes of turkey products. Initially, the lawsuit was filed in 2019 against major turkey producers Cargill, Butterball, Hillshire Brands, Kraft Foods, Jennie-O Turkey, Purdue Farms, and Prestige Farms. The lawsuit claims turkey processors conspired as part of an illegal price-fixing scheme by sharing information to reduce supplies or suppress competition. A motion was filed last week by the plaintiffs in the U.S. District Court for Northern Illinois, asking the judge to approve the Cargill settlement. Cargill is responsible for about 20% of the country's turkey processing. CHS Incorporated, based in Minnesota, announced plans to expand its grain facility in Warren, Minnesota by this time next year. Construction is scheduled to begin this summer, and when the project is completed, the facility will have doubled its storage capacity to nearly 4 million bushels. The increase in storage will include building 2 737,000 bushel steel bins and 3 smaller bins totaling 460,000 bushels in storage capacity. CHS also plans to install a new high-speed receiving pit and to increase grain drying capacity of up to 200,000 bushels per day. The Warren facility currently handles corn, soybeans, and spring wheat. And that's some ag news here on Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Joe Welke.
True Green. Get a golf course quality lawn for less than you think. Don't wait. Sign up at truegreen.com for 75% off your first service and let the pros handle the work while you enjoy the results. TRUgreen.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, sports aficionados and armchair quarterbacks, welcome to the Dan Casper Show, where sports passion meets expert analysis. Dan's encyclopedic knowledge and infectious passion for all things sports is both impressive and sad.
I have many leather-bound books.
So get ready to laugh, cheer, and maybe even facepalm a few times.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
It's the Dan Casper Show.
Second hour kicking off right now on this Wednesday morning of January 29th. A big thanks to all of you tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in. Coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk studios this morning. Quick reminder, with the temperatures a bit colder these days, your vehicle may be working a lot harder this winter season. Add in the potential for some poor road conditions with some snowfall, and winter driving can be tough on your vehicle. That's where ASAP Used Auto Parts can help you out. Make sure your vehicle is prepared for this winter season with a new oil change to keep your engine running smooth and that you have the proper tires for those snow-covered roads. ASAP Used Auto Parts can help you out with both of those. Just give them a call today to set up your appointment, 715-514-4501. We're going to talk some more hoops coming up a little bit later on. We'll talk some baseball and such. Joining, though, us for just a little bit earlier this morning, for a little bit, we've got Mr. Joe DeGuano. Joe, how you doing there, sir?
I am doing great, and I appreciate you being flexible on my schedule. I am calling in from the wonderful, beautiful, snowy Upper Peninsula. I'm in Marquette, Michigan right now, and I got to tell you, it's beautiful up here. And last night, before I tucked myself in and called it a night, had a great conversation with a longtime Packer fan up here. He talked about the fact that his Aunt Bobo was buried in a Brett Favre jersey.
Oh, my goodness.
How about that, Captain?
Great Aunt Bobo is the name?
Well, I think that was a nickname.
Okay.
So I think that was a nickname. But, yeah, Great Aunt Bobo He walked up to the casket and the Packer pants and a Brett Favre jersey.
Wow.
So it is, and it was a lot of fun talking Packer time. We were talking about, of course, what Brett Favre was put up in the facade, and Bart Starr was there, and it was very cool, and it reminded me just how cool Packer fans are, and how you'll find them everywhere in the country.
I don't think that's probably the only person that was buried in a Packer jersey either. If I had to bet G-Man's 401k or my 401k on that, I think I'd be pretty confident in winning some money on that. Just
I think you're right. I think you're right. And you know what, Captain, real quick, in 2 nights, the movie Green and Gold premieres, and it premieres actually in Eau Claire and Chippewa. It's at the Micon Cinemas downtown Eau Claire, and it's at Micon and Chippewa. I've already got my tickets for Saturday night because I'm going to be coming back into town late. I cannot wait to see that movie.
The coach is in it, man. It's been a while since I saw the TV show, The Coach.
Nelson.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, Craig T. Nelson sang the national anthem at the Bear Packer game at the end of the year. So it's quite the phenomenon when you talk about the Green Bay Packers. And again, just last night, just a little slice of coolness talking to a gentleman at the bar up here in Marquette, Michigan.
Fun fact, when I was like a wee little lad in Medford, like a few years old, I thought the Marquette basketball team was actually up in Marquette, Michigan. So there you go. That's how not smart I was as like a 6 or 7 year old at that point. So
I think naive.
Yeah.
We're going to go with naive, not smart.
I mean, I heard of Al McGuire in this Marquette, Michigan basketball team or Marquette basketball team. And I always thought it was in Michigan, and lo and behold, it's actually in Wisconsin. So there you go. So, Green Bay wise, Packer wise, we've been having some off-season self-scouting series looking at different position groups and such, Joseph. And, we've touched on offensive line, defensive line and such. And obviously with the Senior Bowl going on right now, I think you and I would agree, like this week and this weekend's game, if you're a Packers fan, maybe trying to get a glimpse of who Goody or this front office is possibly interested in when it comes to draft, pay attention to the Senior Bowl this week, right?
No doubt. This is the interviews that the Packers conduct this week at the Senior Bowl. A lot of them will tell the story of where Goody and his staff wants to go for the draft, because more often than not, Green Bay leans into the Senior Bowl when they have these one-on-one interviews as far as looking into the future in April when they're going to be making those draft choices. So, and they do a great job. I think the Senior Bowl does just a fantastic job, and I think it gives these kids, I think this is almost more important than the Combine. I think the Combine reconfirms what you already think you want to do, or it pushes you away from that decision. That might be, you know what, these guys are neck and neck. We like them both, but we like this guy a little bit more. But I think this week is much more important and critical, especially for the Green Bay Packers, it seems, from an evaluation standpoint, than that Combine week.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So off-season stuff, we heard the other day from Tom Silverstein that the Packers are going to have Luke Getsy on staff. It says senior offensive consultant. Maybe that role changes depending on if they lose anybody else to a coordinator position or whatever. But also Rich Bisaccia is back. And, how the years have changed. I mean, a couple years ago when he was hired, you had people ecstatic, pumped up, got a special teams coach in that everybody loves. Now it seems to be almost splits that Packers fans, at least the ones on social media, are kind of like, no, we didn't want him back, want somebody new, or they're okay with it or kind of neutral. Where do you stand on the Rich Bisaccia coming back for Green Bay, at least for this year?
Captain, it's interesting because there's so much more than meets the fan's eye. And here's what I mean by that. Again, I think there are some question marks with the Packers special teams. The numbers bear that out. I think Rich Bisaccia's value to Matt LaFleur is really that trusted right-hand man, that senior level guy that you can go to that's seen more situations than you have. And so, I think I would have been really, really good with Bisaccia keeping the assistant head coach assistant head coach title rather than special teams coordinator. That being said, though, and again, when you're a head coach, and it doesn't matter what level you're at, trust is a big thing. And when you trust someone, and this is again Robert Saleh coming onto the Green Bay Packers staff this last year, Luke Getsy coming back, Rich Bisaccia getting that extension. So I think his value is much more to LaFleur as that assistant head coach than it is as that special teams coordinator. And I go back to when Bisaccia was the interim head coach of the Raiders. Those guys loved him. And they were really hoping, the players on the Raiders at that time were really hoping that Bisaccia was going to get the full-time gig. So, I think there's something to be said for, again, that trust on the sidelines. I trust this guy. This guy's got my back. He's going to see different things. So I'm okay with this. I would have been much better if they would have said, hey, we're just going to let him be the assistant head coach and we're going to bring in another special teams guy. And so I would have been better with that arrangement. That being said, I am okay with Rich Bisaccia being re-signed and extended.
I'm glad you kind of brought that up with his tenure with the Raiders too, because I mean, how much you factor that in and keeping a guy like Bisaccia, because we heard Josh Jacobs say a big reason why he came to Green Bay too was because Rich Bisaccia was there. And, we've heard other players talk about that too. So, I mean, that's got to come into factoring whether to keep an assistant coach around too, I would imagine, right?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Look, when you're putting together that coaching staff, you've got to have balance. And I've often talked about, it's kind of like putting together a sales organization or a business organization. It's a puzzle. You're putting together all these puzzle pieces to make one big picture. And I think Bisaccia is a part of the puzzle. And again, I think that LaFleur loves him and trusts him. And I think the players, I think, really believe in Rich Bisaccia. And so sometimes, when you say addition by subtraction, I think this is one of those situations where it's addition by keeping and connecting and maintaining, I guess, would be it. So again, I understand special teams did not perform to the level of which we would have liked to have seen them this year. But again, I think his value to this organization is much more of that assistant head coach than it is that special teams coordinator. And
the other question I would have too over that is how much is it, with the personnel? Because when he first joined up, you had the was it Sean Levitt's coming in, and Rudy Ford was initially brought in for special teams. Eric Wilson was initially brought in for special teams and such, and it was kind of a younger unit. Do you feel like they should maybe go with that same mindset and maybe bring in a couple veterans to help out that special teams unit this offseason?
I do. I do. I think it's valuable to bring guys in that have, again, just been around the block and have seen some things. So yeah, I think bringing in some of those guys that can bring value to the special teams every once in a while, step in if needed be, because again, we saw it this year. Zane Anderson, Eric Wilson, those types of guys had to step in this year and actually did okay when they stepped in. So you got to find that balance between this guy's a really good special teams guy, and this guy is also somebody who could step in. I always go back to, kind of an unsung hero of that Packers Super Bowl run with Jared Bush. I thought, again, he brought a lot to the table from a special team standpoint, but, Packer fans might forget he had a big interception in the Super Bowl. And so, again, I think you've got to find that balance. But yes, going out and getting guys with that special teams mentality, I think, is a big part of the equation.
Looking at the offensive line, Joe, the big one out there is Josh Myers is a free agent coming up. We didn't get to see Jordan Morgan a whole lot this year, but, I think Sean Ryan impressed some people. Rasheed Walker, maybe a little question marks just because we didn't know what to expect at left tackle. You got Zach Tom doing his thing, and Elton Jenkins is doing his thing. How do you see this offensive line going into the offseason? Do you think they should try to re-sign Josh Myers? It sounds like Jordan Love loves him. The franchise really respects him. Matt LaFleur mentioned his name as a guy he goes to get the vibe in the locker room. Should that be a priority for them, or should it be kind of similar to maybe like John Ryan last year? Go get a number, come back, and we'll see if we can meet somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's the case. It's interesting when Matt LaFleur talks about players that he leans on, the vibe or the mood of the team, if you will. Josh Myers has mentioned it there. You mentioned the Jordan Love connection. And so I think what Green Bay does is, again, they've got a number in mind. And if Myers goes out and gets a heck of a deal and a mountain of a deal, then they're going to say, "Okay, Josh, thank you," but we're not going to match that. But I don't know if he's going to get that offer. And so, Josh Myers might be back. Look, the bottom line with that offensive line, and again, I think Josh Jacobs, I thought he did a really nice job this year making yardage that wasn't there. And so I think this offensive line has room to grow. The bottom line is they need depth. You look at what happened in that Eagle game, and you look at what the Packer offensive line was left with at the end of that game, and it was not ideal. So if you can bring Josh Myers back because of everything you mentioned, and again, he's a LaFleur guy, he's one of the core guys, then you bring him back. It almost goes back to the Satya thing. That look. Are you going to gain more with Josh Myers being there both on and off the field than you will by losing him? So I think it is one of those deals. I think it's Josh, go test the market, let us know what you're getting out there, and then we'll see if we can bring it back. Green Bay has the salary cap room. There's no question they have the room. And when you look at the free agents this offseason, I look at Josh Myers, obviously the guy that you're saying, okay, that's a guy that we would like to bring back. But then you say, I would say Brandon McManus is probably right up there. And really the only other guy that I look at from a value standpoint is TJ Slayton. And so Green Bay doesn't have a lot of need to re-sign guys from an internal standpoint. And so do you pay Josh Myers a little bit more maybe to stay because of that comfort level? Maybe you do, and you still continue to build depth on that offensive line, because you can never have too much depth when you're talking the O-line.
If Green Bay decides to move on from Jair, and let's say they draft a corner, maybe, I don't know, first round, second round, or whatever, but say your corners are day one, game one, whoever that is, whoever that's against, it's Keyshawn and Carrington on the outside and Javon Bullard at the nickel. Are you okay with that, or are you concerned about that's your top three? And let's call it, I know it's a nickel defense, but nickel's pretty much base now these days.
Right. I'm okay with that. I am actually okay with that as a starting three. And again, I like Bullard a lot better in the slot than I do at that safety position. And do I see him making a jump next year? I do. And working at both positions, it helps and hurts some of these young guys. And I always go back to Micah Hyde, where he comes in and he was kind of a tweener where he played nickelback, and he then moved to safety with Buffalo full time, and he really blossomed. And so I look at the same type of situation where you got to find where this guy's groove is, where is his best position, and then you put him there and play him there. So yes, I am. If you went into the opening game of the season with those three, I am good, knowing what you have too at that safety position, because now you're saying Evan Williams, I'm assuming, and obviously Xavier McKinney. So yeah, now you look at the totality of that secondary, and I feel good about that. And again, looking at the other pieces of the puzzle, and figuring in other guys at that front seven level, yeah, then I feel really good about that defense. They didn't. Again, look what the Eagles did to Washington, and look at what the Eagles have done this whole postseason, and look at what Green Bay did to that offense. And they really did the best job this postseason on that Eagle offense. And so I feel Green Bay's defense rounding into form. Yes, you're going to draft a cornerback for depth or even competing for a starting position, but I don't mind at all what Green Bay has coming back if it were to be Keyshawn Nixon, Javon Bullard, and Carrington at that other position.
All right, before I let you go, one more question, because we were talking about linebackers the other day. I mean, we're all excited about Edgerrin Cooper and such. You got Quay Walker. How big of a need, though, is it for the Packers to maybe find another linebacker to pair up with those two?
Oh, it's huge. You're going to play a 4-3. You've got to have three backers. I get it. You need two backers primarily from a nickel standpoint. You going back to that. That's typically your base defense. But you still need that guy. You still need somebody to come in and play that third position. when you're truly going with a 4-3. And so I think Green Bay does draft someone. And again, this kind of goes back to our original point. Do they draft someone who maybe can play and step in and but also bring special teams value? One guy that we don't talk about is Hopper from last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that draft. And so Hopper, right, Captain?
Yep.
That's who I'm thinking of? Yeah, okay. So, that's a guy that I think flashed a little bit this offseason. And so that's a guy who might step in to that top 3 or 4 as well. So, but drafting that type of position, you can never go wrong.
He's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning, chatting some green and gold. We appreciate the time as always, man. I'll let you go and actually go do your job right now and make some. Well, gotta make some bacon, right? So gotta go and do that.
Well, I got to tell you, and again, I love being up here. It is fantastic. The people are great up here. And it was a virtual winter wonderland up here last night, this morning. But it's fun being up here, and it's fun talking with Packer fans at a bar and talking about Aunt Bobo, who was in a Brett Favre jersey. So again, it's just Packer fans are everywhere, and it's always fun talking to them.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we appreciate the time, man, and enjoy the rest of the week.
All right, Kevin. Take care, man.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us, chatting some green and gold a little bit earlier this morning. Very quick break, and we'll get to our good buddy Luke, who will be joining us here for the rest of the program. So stick around. We got some hoops chat. We got some baseball chat and a bunch of other stuff coming up after these quick words. When pain or injury slows you down, turn to the experts at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Since 1954, they have been helping patients get back to doing what they love with advanced care for bones, joints, and muscles. From sports injuries to pain management, their experienced team provides personalized treatment to help you live your life pain-free and getting back to doing what you love to do. So this year, start feeling better with the help from Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Just visit cvosm.com to get started. All right. We'll get back to maybe some more football talk a little bit later on. We got some hoops chat coming in. We've got a little baseball talk. So while stock reports are due, whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling, make sure you hit us up with a text or comment on the video stream. with your picks for stock reports out there. We'll say that it's not on my stock report, though, but maybe it should be for stock falling. I might not have to change allegiances for hockey teams there, Lucas.
I know.
I'm a little disappointed in that. A little sad.
What do you think? Is it too petty? Do you think people are really going to be confused by the whole
No.
Utah Yetis? Oh my gosh, what is this? Is it a cooler? Is it a hockey team? I don't know.
I feel like there's a great partnership right there.
You'd think.
Coolers, hockey team. Come on now. Let's use our marketing skills, people.
Right.
At this. I mean, for crying out loud. We're gonna get to a point, aren't we, where every single word's trademarked and nobody else can use it.
Well, this has happened a few times lately. I mean, the classic one was, I think this is more of a Dan Snyder thing than anything. But remember, there was the sentiment that the now Washington Commanders probably should have been like the Red Wolves that was seeming to get some of that.
Yeah.
And then they went out of their way to explain why that one wasn't okay, but the other ones, they didn't really have any commentary. They said, well, there were copyright issues with Wolves, for example. There were other teams that were like, wait, so Wolves is taken?
Yeah.
Like by some, Like it seemed more flimsy. That one you could work around. But there are other ones where like it's a very basic sounding nickname, but apparently, oh my gosh. Well, remember the Guardians thing actually became like a legit problem for a while.
Yeah, because wasn't it? I mean, Guardians is superhero sort of thing. So,
It was like a roller derby team.
Oh, really?
The Cleveland Guardians in Cleveland. They're like, oh, we already are. So why are you doing that? But they weren't going to blow up the team, and they worked it out. Yeah, I mean, come on, like this.
I don't like the other options. I'm just saying, I don't like the other options out there.
If you had to choose one of the other options, not that it would make you a fan.
No,
but
it would not make me a fan. It would not.
So you might be Kraken for life.
Yep.
Hashtag
Kraken for life.
Okay. All
So,
right. Well, at least you're.
Well, I hope it changes though. I'm open for business for anybody that's a Yeti. So, which I mean,
Minnesota Yeti.
Oh boy.
Well, okay. What if they did? That would never happen. But what if they did?
I would have to seriously consider that.
Okay.
I would have to seriously consider that. So,
All right.
But a little unknown, I think, for some people too. Remember the old Sonics mascot used to be a Sasquatch.
Wow.
Did you remember that?
On the court.
Yeah.
Sonics. I probably just oh gosh, wow.
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
Squash.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Which means because the Seattle Supersonics are pretty much a lock to return to the NBA.
Yeah, if they got a Squatch as a mascot, they'd be my second favorite NBA team.
Squatch would be okay.
Squatch was known for his high flying acrobatics.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Kind of looks like Chewbacca, but it is what it is.
Well, you're picking up on Seattle teams. First the Kraken.
Seattle makes more sense with Squatch because Washington Pacific Northwest too.
Yes.
So,
well, hey, that's when I was in Seattle, found that Sasquatch thing when I was over there. So that it's logical. So now, so what if the Seahawks go? Now they're never changing their name, but what if they went all in on Yeti imagery?
I think there's a lot of teams should be doing that, and they're not right now. So
okay, untapped market.
Yep.
Except in
big.
Utah, where it's banned, apparently.
Yeah. That I still feel like they're going to work it out. I don't know. Maybe that's a little optimistic for me.
Given that, like, the players seem to like it, the organization seems to like it. Like, maybe this might be step one of like the trademark commission rejects it, and then there are negotiations, and someone figures something out. It makes too much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not ready to give up on it being the Utah Yetis or Yeti. Should it be plural or singular?
I think you got to go plural. Utah Yetis.
The Yetis.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you got to go Yetis.
Okay.
Because that's go. Okay. So that's funny you mentioned that because I've had this discussion with people, and I actually most recently with Alex from Wax. Is it Packers or Packer?
Like a fan.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had that debate in my brain a lot. And I think the proper way to say it is the plural.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Packers fan. I'm a Vikings fan. I'm a Bears fan. I'm a Lions fan.
Mm-hmm.
But my default is to go singular.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But then I'm like, but it's technically Packers though, right? It's the plural.
Right.
That's the name, right?
Are you a fan of a Packer or the Packers?
Right.
But
It
that
sounds weird when you say it like out loud, but it's like I think that's the proper way, isn't it?
right.
I've
but
had
that,
this discussion with people before.
but that doesn't apply to everything.
No, it doesn't.
Like I am not a Twin fan. I'm a
Right.
Twins fan. Twin fan makes no sense to me at all.
Right.
But I'll say I'm a Viking. Well, see, now I say I'm a Vikings fan. I'm a Twins fan, Timberwolves fan. But
Because you can kind of do the same with the Brewer. I'm a Brewer fan. I'm a Brewers fan.
you're a Brewer fan, Brewers fan,
Badgers fan. Yeah.
Badger fan. See, Packer fan. Okay, this is weird.
Bucks one is easy.
Right.
That's just Bucks. So
Yeah. Are you a Buck fan? But that's interesting. It seems like, and maybe it's the way I grew up. Maybe was my dad saying it a certain way? Was it more of a thing when I was? I don't know. But it feels like the Wisconsin ones are more singular and the Minnesota ones are plural. And then I don't know across. I don't know. It's an interesting one because again, the right answer there actually is grammatically the right answer is plural.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what it is still.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Off that tangent now. So,
Hmm.
by the way, I was looking up Utah Yeti. Apparently, somebody does have a Twitter account on it. Sweet graphics, man. He's got like graphics of like images and like game day. This was back on the 26th. The Utah take on the Ottawa Senators. That's a sweet Yeti he's got over there.
Okay. See,
Going up
that's
against
the other
Rome.
thing. You do
Yeah,
so much with this.
you can.
Yeah.
Yep, you can.
Make the money work, folks. Come on.
Mhm.
Come on,
Absolutely.
Gary, get at it.
Oh, yeah. Put your trust in Gary Bettman because that's going to work out wonders over there.
I think he's going to be retiring pretty soon.
Is there? He's got to be.
I think there was it was from one of the main NHL folks said, like, I think he told the other folks, like the board of governors or whatever, like, all right, start preparing for my successor soon. So that it's beginning the process, but the transition's going to come. Now we can start pondering the transition to the next commissioner. What has he been a commissioner since like the 40s?
I think so.
I almost don't remember another NHL commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do when he's gone? Do you boo the next person?
I don't know.
Can you?
I don't know. Let's switch over to baseball here for a minute because I'll bring up this question again. Are the Dodgers ruining baseball? The Dodgers again. I think we had this last week, but again, the Dodgers signed another player, another Kirby Yates, the latest addition to this Dodgers bullpen. 1 year, $13 million to pair up, and Yates last year closer with the Rangers and such. I mean, I might as well ask you this, but how with what the Dodgers have done the last couple of years, how does this kind of influence your excitement level for the upcoming baseball season? You're a team in the other league,
right?
So
well, I mean, hello, the Twins don't spend money, and I yes, I know asterisk on this. I think some of it has to do with the very likely coming sale. You don't want to do a lot of financial moves after you put the team on the market. I get that, but broadly for baseball, no, I mean it's worse all the time, but it's not also the Dodgers' fault. They're taking advantage of the rules. Okay, well, I mean, if you have the money and the smarts to do it, you got to have both. They're doing that, and you can put together a really, really talented team based on the rules. The thing that I guess could sometimes be annoying because it can make following 6 months of baseball feel a little worthless because then the ones who do well are different is the postseason, which we talked about a lot. But that actually is the thing that should give any baseball fan hope. There is not a guarantee that this means the Dodgers are going to go. Let's see, so can't quite do the Moses Malone full because it's not a 7-game series, but it would basically be what 3 full is what it would be. DS, NLCS in the World Series, and I don't think they're going to do that. They could get tripped up. They're pitching, and I think part of the reason why they brought in Yates here. Who did they? Scott recently. Treinen brought back Treinen. Is because they have so many injuries in their pitching, and they're a really good pitching organization, as we know. That's one of the strong suits of the LA Dodgers. But they keep running into injuries there, so they're building lots and lots of depth. But if the depth isn't there at just the right time, which could be October, Dodgers would it shock you for them to even lose an NLDS? It still wouldn't, because of the way baseball's playoffs go. So that's the one thing that's now reassuring, that some other team, not like the Pirates unless Skeens goes on, wow, some sort of crazy thing, that this isn't just going to be the Dodgers Invitational for the next 10 years. I'm really curious what happens after 2026, though.
Explain.
That's when the labor agreement ends.
Yeah.
And at some point, I wonder if some of the owners start to say, look, we got to start getting into caps and floors or something like that, which, of course, the players' organization will not accept.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not going to. Maybe they'd accept a floor.
I don't know how many more times we got to go, like, because that's always still the thing that a lot of fans say, salary cap, but that's not going to happen. It's too far down the road, right? I mean,
I don't know how it would. I mean, maybe.
And for anybody, again, why wouldn't the players? Because they're going to lose money on it. Like the top flight players are going to lose money on it.
See, that's the trick, though. It's the top few players would lose money. There's the middle class of baseball players.
It still would trickle down, though, too, because you've got the middle class players that, okay, there's a salary cap, then their prices go down a little bit, too.
Well, but there'd be more to spread around. So ultimately, like, it's greater good sort of thing, but the top ones who would be the most vocal, and of course they got like the Scott Borases of the world, would be like, no, because they wouldn't get mammoth contracts anymore. And that they could say to other players like, hey, you want to get a massive contract? Can't get it anymore in their salary cap, because it's basically looking out for your own interest. And that's what they would probably tell the rest of the union. Plus, we know the union owner dynamic has never been good in baseball. The last time they did anything together, it was bad during the pandemic. We remember how that was almost sickening compared to most times we were just like, you guys are stupid. This one was like, oh, really? Pandemic? And you're going to start arguing with each other?
Yeah.
So I don't have faith that it's going to work out and we're going to come out with a salary cap or even like a second apron sort of NBA style situation.
I mean, how much does the apron really? I mean, the Dodgers apron crap. That I just, does that even effective for some of those teams? I don't think they.
It would have to be made effective in a different way. Like the luxury tax obviously is not a problem for the handful of teams that decide they want to go over. It has to become more of a structural thing, like the NBA second apron, where it starts to get into, okay, now you can't acquire this, you can't acquire this, you can't acquire this, where it becomes really complex to explain, but the end result is not a soft cap, as it's usually referred to in some sports, more like a medium cap. Like, okay, you're going to be limited. You can go past it, but you're going to have to get way more creative to be successful. We haven't seen, I think we still need to see 2 or 3 more years of the second apron, et cetera, in the NBA to really know how teams are going to manage this. We haven't let it all play out. There might be some teams that kind of hack the system and figure out a way to be continuously successful. But that's where I wonder if baseball, and I'm not saying this having read anything from like Passan or anyone like that knows, but something that prevents the Dodgers, I would say them as the example, from getting so much talent. Now, a big advantage for them they're a very good organization for players to want to join. That's part of the reason why they keep piling up, because they're so well regarded among the union, and by the union, I mean in the lowercase union. Players really want to play for the Dodgers. If you were a baseball player, take the money out of it, you would probably want to go play for the Los Angeles Dodgers because of their current organization. They're a place you want to go work. I mean, if I were to get into baseball right now and I didn't care about fandom, I would want to, there's a prestige to working with the Dodgers because they're successful. They know what they're doing. So to a degree, that gets around the money. If it's an attractive place, it will draw talent in. So I don't know, but after 2026, we got this season to go. The rumblings are going to probably really start to kick in next offseason. And if that's going to loom over 2026, and it's going to be because of stuff like what we're going through right now with Los Angeles, but something really does need to be done. Something, I don't know exactly what, but something. Because we're up here with the Twins and Brewers crying poverty. I don't think the Twins will once they get a new owner. I think they're going to spend more, but with the Brewers, for sure. We can't keep seeing this happen with Milwaukee not being able to compete.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'll tell you, it puts a little bit of a damper on my approach this season. Like, does it change the expectations you should have for each season a little bit?
In the National League,
Yeah.
much more so.
Mhm.
And again, you're basically hoping that the playoffs, and there is a proven track record that teams with a lesser shot of winning end up winning. That's what happens. And that could be the Brewers versus the Dodgers this season. It could happen. At least
That is probably the one nice thing when it comes to a sport like baseball, right?
Right.
Because, I mean, how many times in the NBA, yes, it doesn't always work out, but we've seen, for example, the LeBron, Bosch, and D-Wade teams, yet they won a few championships, right? When you put those teams together.
There
Or the Warriors.
More chalk there,
Yeah, Warriors, when KD especially went there, it was like, Jesus, or the Chiefs right now, maybe. In the NFL.
And the NFL's done a great job with parity, with giving every team a chance. Now, I'm not looking at stats here, so maybe if I actually looked at the data, I'm off. But doesn't it feel like in the NFL, broadly speaking, akin to the NBA, better teams usually tend to win out? It's not that they win for like 10 years in a row, unless you're the Chiefs or the Pats. But the better teams do tend to do better when you get to the playoffs.
I feel like if you broke it down by conferences, there's not a whole lot of parity in the AFC in the last 20 years.
No.
Because remember the graphic when Brady was still playing and all the different AFC quarterbacks to go to the Super Bowl?
Mhm.
It was like 3. It was Brady, it was Manning, and then you throw Roethlisberger in there. And that was kind of it for the big chart. Now you throw in, the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. And, I mean, you look at it again this year, it was the same 4 teams in the divisional round. Different matchups, but the same 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go into next year already, would it surprise anybody to say these are going to be the division winners again for those conferences? Probably not.
No.
Probably not. So,
and then your other likely team in the mix would probably be the Bengals.
That's the one I was thinking of, yeah.
Burrow is going to get back in there. There might be that, again, one other team we don't know. And there will be, because there's always that churn. But at the top, there's a lot of continuity in the NFL. So if that was applied, I think the NHL might be stabilizing a little bit. There seemed to be that time there where like the NHL was like 8th seed versus 8th seed. Who knows what's going on? But if you took NBA and NFL style playoff performance, which is actually what I would expect to happen, I would expect the better teams to perform better in the playoffs. Seems logical. But if that tendency happened in the sport of baseball, in the structure of the series, then I would have a lot less hope. Then I'd be like, all right, it's going to be the Super Dodgers for the next few years, and it's going to be like the Yankees of the late 40s and early 50s. Remember, they were winning World Series almost every year, and that's what. Now, granted, of course, that's also when baseball was wildly popular too. But yeah, I feel less confident. So October is our only hope, and of right now.
Mm-hmm.
But at least we got that to look for. I mean, in a weird way, we still have that to look forward to.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll finish up the second hour, then stock reports. So get your stock reports in, peeps. Text us, comment on the video stream, all of those different avenues. We'll be back after these quick words. Wednesday night means WIAC basketball night. We got a few games in action. Stout's going to be taking on lacrosse. Both the men's and women's team will be taking on lacrosse. The men's team, after coming off their big win Saturday night against 17th ranked Stevens Point, they'll be on the road taking on River Falls. The women's team will be at the Sonntag tonight, taking on River Falls. So if you're looking for some basketball action to check out, you can head on over to the Sonntag tonight and check out the women's team in action. Badgers also in action. They're going to be on the road, though, going up against Maryland. So college basketball nights if you want to get your hoops fix in. Bucks last night, they fell to the Trailblazers 125-112. We've been talking a lot about Bucks trade rumors. Has there been anything for your T-Wolves in terms of trade rumors out there, or has it been pretty quiet?
It's relatively quiet. I wouldn't be surprised if they do make a move, given now the Wolves have been shaky this season, given the expectations. I mean, they're above 500. They'd be in the playoffs right now, but the thought was that this is when they should be ascending to a top 4 team. They're not that far from that, but they don't feel like it. There are too many nights when, like, Ant's missing threes. The Gobert doesn't know what he's doing around the rim. I mean, Conley's pretty well cooked at this point. We know that. The rest of the team just isn't quite all figuring themselves out. And so I think they're not going to make any major trades given what they've already done for major trades. Like, can you top Gobert and Towns for big trades? Come on. No, they're not going to do that. Wow, I got a heck of a nosebleed going on here in the studio.
Jesus, are you just falling apart in there?
I am, I think. Like, I was just talking and I look like, why is my hand red?
Okay.
But
Luke's dying. So
I might be the way the last 10 days have been going sick wise. But so maybe I'll live to the trade deadline. Come on, Shams, help. I don't think they're going to make a massive trade. Like, I suppose you could do point guard, perhaps something like that, given again where Conley's at. They started playing DiVincenzo more, and he's finally performed more like you would expect what you wanted him to perform like. Now, granted, last year was an aberration. I as great as Dante DiVincenzo was shooting wise, that's not going to be him for a totality, but you also don't want him to go whipping back to the other direction of what we kind of remember from the Bucks of, like, there is potential, but not quite there. But he's also not a true point guard. So I think there might be something to come there to make up for the lack of production. It's the age. It's not Mike Conley's fault. He's hit the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't really do much of anything, that also wouldn't surprise me. I think I almost guarantee they will do something, but I'm not really sure what, and I don't know if it's going to be anything that major.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the Bucks one's kind of interesting because we've been seeing a bunch of names being floated out there, whether it's been the Jimmy Butlers or the Bradley Beals or the Zach LaVines, or maybe it's front court help up there too. I think ultimately there's going to be two things that have to be answered with this. One, do they feel like they can beat the Knicks, Celtics, or Cavs in a 7-game series? And right now, I would say no, because you didn't this year. It's almost kind of like Packer-esque going up against playoff teams this year. And then B, probably the biggest one is like, okay, you want to make a trade. Are you able to make a trade? Because the de facto GM, Giannis, has to approve it. Let's be real. Giannis is going to have to approve this, right? Because they're going to go to him and say, hey, what do you think? And if he says no, they're probably not going to make that move because they don't want to upset Giannis. So there's the two hurdles outside of the contracts and moving money around and such. That's the biggest hurdle, is getting approval from Giannis. The GM, and not in name, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
So where are you at right now on? I'll go with the big picture one, but you can break this down more if you need to. Essentially, Middleton for Butler.
The thing is, it won't just be, if it was just Middleton for Butler, okay. But the fact that it might be Portis and Middleton makes me really nervous.
Right.
Because if you're already struggling with some front court depth, and then you're going to move on from Portis, well, then you're in some serious trouble because you're not getting any front court help in return.
I was just reading a tweet from Paul Henning, I've had on the show before, and he was talking about how he's wary because the Bucks are talking about, despite what happened last night, that their chemistry is coming around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what they're saying. How much is that is actually true, we don't know. But usually if you start saying that publicly, it's probably happening privately. And it could be a message to the front office through the media to say, hey, don't screw up what we've got here. Does that make you more reticent to make a move? Or is the mere fact that Jimmy Butler's out there, you got to get the guy?
And the other part, though, too, is like, where does it? He's essentially playoff Jimmy, right? That's when he really shines, and that's where the Bucks have struggled a lot lately. And I know it's because of injuries and such. So, at least with his age, because if you're going to make a move for Jimmy, count on for just 2 years of actual good play from him. Then he wears out his welcome.
Yeah.
Then he wants out. Well, considering his age, he might only have a couple years left too. So there's that. He's older than I keep forgetting. He's like mid to late 30s.
Yep.
He's up there in age. So, if it's between Butler, Bradley Beal, we'll throw Zach LaVine's name into this thing. I'd be a little bit more intrigued with Zach LaVine. The only thing is then your backcourt's LaVine and Damian Lillard, and you don't really have a true point guard. Does that mean you go with a college lineup with 3 guards and keep Andre Jackson Jr. in there? And then it's like Giannis is at the 4. I don't know how that would work out, but at least Zach LaVine is a little bit younger and gives you some more athleticism that way too. But I know everybody, like Mark Stein said in his latest piece, that they're like Bucks are really focused on trying to make a move. I don't have a good gauge where it's going to come from. I really don't know who that move is.
Will they
there's
make
so
a move?
many moving parts. I think they'll make a move. I still have my doubts whether it's going to be for one of those big name players that is floated out there.
Yeah.
I feel like nobody is talking about it enough from the national perspective. Is Giannis has to approve this. That's the part of this whole thing. Like, everybody's so quick to say Middleton, but if Giannis says no, don't move on from my best friend, then it's going to be back, because this is what's going to happen probably. This is how the national media is going to probably spin it. Bucks will make a trade where they move on from Middleton. The next day or 2 days later, then they're going to say, Bucks pissed off Giannis. He's going to Golden State next year.
Word within the organization. Yeah. Funny, though, that we had all the Giannis wants out talk. Not that he really did, but there was like a lot of speculation. Maybe he will early in the season when the Bucks were bad. And as soon as they stabilized, Giannis talk has gone completely quiet.
Yeah.
Right up to this point, even of what does Giannis think about a potential trade? You rarely, if ever, hear anything about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Totally quiet.
There was, I don't know if you saw this. I got really quick. John Henson said this a few weeks ago. Remember former Bucks big man, right?
Yeah.
John Henson.
Uh-huh.
When Butler was with the T-Wolves
Mm-hmm.
and that whole ordeal, the Bucks had a proposal to send Middleton to the Wolves for Butler. Giannis shut that down.
Wow.
So I don't know, would that be still the same thing at this point? But I think it's worth, if that is true, that's worth knowing in the back of your head or back of your mind.
That's an interesting what if, too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'm not sure if the Bucks end up winning a title out of this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the Wolves get in position to draft Ant because of that either.
Yeah. So
wow.
Interesting. All right. Stock reports are coming up first. We've got some news updates. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. Send those stock reports in. Hit us up with a text or comment on the video stream. Final hour on this Wednesday morning, kicking off right now. Big thanks for tuning in. We're gonna talk some more hoops. Let me throw a little football talk in here too. Got some basketball. Badgers are in action tonight as well. So we got Luke over there. How's the nose now? Better?
Still bleeding, but at least I got.
Jeez.
Well, I suppose so. I've got paper in it, so
Yeah.
So it's not like a steady, red stream over here.
Man.
I don't know why. There's probably. I mean, when you've been stuffed up for like over a week, at a certain point, your skin's like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it happens.
Well, don't die. Okay.
I'm working on it right now.
Yeah.
I think it's at 8:05, so I got 55 minutes. I got 55 minutes in me. I can guarantee you that.
Well, we know your stock is falling right now. So
well, thank you. There we
have
go.
that, so.
You know what? I was struggling with stock followers. So there you go. Me.
Yeah.
Literally losing blood right now.
Let's do some stock reports here this morning. Let's start on a little bit of a positive note. Whose stock is rising?
I'm actually going to go you could do the obvious ones. Oh, the Chiefs, the Eagles. Okay.
Boring.
I know. And the thing is, if you look around a lot of the rest of sports, it's like mid-season. Okay, you can do this here. I will actually go very niche-y, but this is something that I wonder if this is going to be more for Twins fans this year, and I hope Brewers fans get this opportunity soon. I'll say the stock rising is Twins TV. They just had their their winter caravan, made their announcements, and so they have their new package, the Twins TV package. You can stream it, no blackouts. What a concept! It's $19.99 a month, and I think $99.99 a year, so $100 a year, $20 a month, or something like that. But this I found interesting. Corey Provis, a longtime Brewer guy and a longtime Twin guy, talked about what they're going to do on some of the broadcasts, and something that jumped out to me, I thought was kind of fascinating, is during rain delays, they're going to immediately go over to other Twins minor league games and start doing those broadcasts. Instead of just disappearing, going back to the booth, going back to what used to be Fox Sports North, other programming and whatnot. They're going to do that. But, well, that's a pretty cool idea of let's focus on what's going on elsewhere, just in general around the organization. That's a smart idea. I like that. If you're going to spend the money to do that, well, here's some extra stuff as well. I love that idea. And I suspect others, some probably already do. There's also going to be like more of a focus on individual players after big moments. They're going to have a big moment cam, I guess. But think about that. If the Twins are doing that, the Brewers probably will at some point. I know they're going back to FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin, whatever it's called. But I wonder if you're going to see similar things happen with Brewer games at some point in the very near future. Maybe this season, probably the year after that. And that enhances the baseball broadcast. Knowing more about potential future stars, other things like that, I think it's going to be a better way to watch the games. I just saw that and went, okay, it's not quite to the point where I'm going to fork over the money to do that because I'm not going to be able to watch all those games for that price point, but it makes it a more appealing option than just the games.
All right. Oh, that's an interesting one there too. Yeah, for sure. I'm curious. So that's the I'm curious how they would do the radio broadcast during rain delays.
I think for that one, I don't think anything really changes there because it's on a separate enough track. Because like right now, it's the Treasure Island Sports Network is what they officially call it. Of course, CCO is the flagship. I wish they could do that. And you know what? That's not been mentioned. And I wonder if there's some way they can tie those two together. Because it's not like, there's some more, very few, but like the Dodgers would have Vin Scully doing both.
Right.
So I don't know if you can quite patch through to be like, all right, now we're going to go over to... We're going to go over to St. Paul. Here's the live radio broadcast. And, of course, that gets a little tricky also in the Twin Cities because, like if it's the Saints, well, the Saints, I believe, are on radio anyway. So you could be like, okay, you could listen to the game here. And you can listen to the game right over here on WCCO, the behemoth. So I'm not quite sure how that would work, but it's a good idea. Given the options, they probably would send it back to affiliates, but that also works a little better with radio. As we know, here, you can come back. We have our own programming. We can do that. At least historically, that's what can be done. Whereas on a TV broadcast, especially given that this is a standalone channel that's going to be on, like, I know there are Comcast negotiations, and you say Comcast negotiation, like, oh gosh, how's that going to turn out? But that's going to happen. It's going to be its own cable channel that pops on 5 minutes before the game runs, game is done, channel goes away. But you would know the number to go to when the games happen. So there, they don't have a local affiliate to go back to. That's where you can fill with this other content.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good idea to give more information within the context of the game.
Right. No, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of like that one. My stock risers, I'm gonna go. I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, but I think it's trending upper right now. The TGL Golf.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think every week that thing has gone by, I feel like you're hearing more talk about it.
Uh-huh.
Especially after this week. I did get to finally catch up on it. You know, the Tiger and the Rory one this past week. That thing I think is rising. I don't know what ratings are like, but just, I mean, I had like Brandon's mom have a text. Did you watch last night's? I mean, people are talking about it, and people are talking about it on social media. And I think this is a good thing for the sport of golf, considering all the drama between the two, and hopefully maybe it draws some more younger fans to it. Have you watched one yet?
I have not. Well, I don't have ESPN, so that's going to be a problem. However, funny you should mention that, because literally posted this morning at Awful Announcing, the fourth match in TGL history continued to post strong viewership numbers. The Monday match between the Jupiter Links Golf Club and the Boston Common Golf was up 27% from the third match. It's still below the first two, but it was sticking around. In fact, the peak audience came during overtime. So people were finding it later on. That's, you always want to see that. People are like, oh, what's going on? That means there's some word of mouth happening some way, somehow. So yeah. And you know, Awful Announcing, though, they tend to be kind of muckrakerish, but they'll highlight the good too. And they're highlighting the good right now on this. So it's holding its own. That's good.
Yeah, definitely.
For
So
sure.
definitely check it out if you, even just for a few minutes. I think it's just going to get bigger. I think it's going to get more attention to it too.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
Stock fallers.
I'll say, okay, and this, I guess I am going to do a little bit of pile on here. The soft target, as the Press Box Pod likes to call it. Football down distance measurement. I mean, come on.
I thought you were going to go with the Chiefs one here too, but no.
Yeah. I mean,
Which team are people more annoyed by now, Dodgers or Chiefs? Like,
it's-
who's villain number one? Who's the evil empire?
Well, at the very moment, it's going to be the Chiefs, because it's the hottest one to note. But I think that also kind of goes away, because okay, I would argue I'll sidetrack a little bit here from the fourth down thing, and I think the Chiefs might have been more annoying last year because of all things Taylor Swift, and it felt like I would openly joke to my wife, like, hey, Taylor Swift's moving on to the conference championship game. And she knew exactly what I meant, but that's how big of a deal that was at that point. Interesting. She's still going to games. It's not as big. You still hear about it.
Well, I was going to mention, like, I was watching that championship game, and I'm like, oh, at least they haven't panned the camera. And then they started doing it like nonstop in the second half. I'm okay.
I was wondering at some certain points if it was happening. I think I lucked out at some of the ones I watched. But it hasn't been.
I mean, even on the Patrick Mahomes touchdown, where it had nothing to do with like Kelsey, and it's like, oh, let's pan to Taylor, and then her boyfriend, for whatever reason, this pissed me off too. But you know, he gets up in DeMar Hamlin's face, Travis Kelsey, and trash talks, and then it's the other guy that gets the flag.
Of course. So you're tying right the whole Chiefs advantage thing.
Yep.
Once again, but I that's been less of a thing than last year, where it seemed like it was like, here comes the parade. And this year's like, oh, that's right. She's going to be at the game this year. I mean, well, there'll be plenty of hype between.
Well, wasn't it last year was the whole talk? Is she going to make it back in time from Japan or something like that?
Yes. But while that was arguably less likable because of the hype, I'm not blaming her. It's the hype that gets people upset. At that point, also, that was like the peak of her Imperial era. She's still doing the Eras tour, and new album is coming out, and like, it's like nothing could stop her at that point. So that's why, understandably, media went all in on that a year ago. Well, tour is done. Album cycle is mostly done. It's quieter, and that's accompanied the lesser media attention. Plus, then you tie that into what's Brittany Mahomes going to say about this, and the Kelsey thing was picking up of like 2 Kelseys starting to do a podcast now, and all of that. I do think if ESPN/ABC were doing the game this year, it might be like you've seen the meme around the people rooting for the asteroid, because while there's going to be plenty of Kelsey stuff this year, it would be insufferable the way ESPN's pushed Jason Kelsey everything this year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Again, it's not necessarily his fault. It's like, ESPN, stop, please.
He's just taking advantage of it.
Well,
Good for him.
Yeah, okay,
getting a payday.
Sure. Exactly. Yeah. But I think that calms down Mahomes being pretty, like, I mean, he's like, he's popular without, he's not boring, but he's not in your face. He's there. I think especially as long as the Chiefs don't win the game on a controversial call. And I know a lot of people will try to turn things into controversial calls, but I think that'll fade away. Whereas the Dodgers thing, it's because they're signing players right now.
Yeah.
And I know baseball's not as big as football, but if the Dodgers are on pace to win like 125 games, that's where I think it starts to be like, okay, stop. By the way, I don't think it's going to happen. That's not the way. I think Buster Olney pointed this out on ESPN's on the Baseball Tonight podcast. That's not how the team works. They are focused entirely on the postseason. They will shut down pitchers for a couple months just for the betterment of the team. If that means that losing games, they don't really care. I don't know that the Dodgers are in this whole run. I don't know that they're going to set the record for most wins in a season. I don't bank on it. I think there's this assumption they're going to surpass 116. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but that's not the Dodgers' point. They want to win World Series titles. So all of that said, figure out the chips in the footballs or whatever you can do. We can't have one guy running in one way, because I remember seeing that when the 4th down play happened. And at first I see like one guy running up, and I had to run out of the room where the TV was and see one guy running up. Looks like he got it. And I barely saw the other ref coming from the other side, not angled, like, oh, maybe he doesn't have it. And then found out later on that it was like had to come back in a couple minutes, go, oh, they didn't get it. Why are we doing that?
Yeah.
Critical play, and the guy that couldn't see it ended up getting the
thing that
call.
annoys me with the whole thing is, like, if we're going to have New York or the Eagle, whatever, chime in on certain ones, chime in on all of them. You know what I'm like?
Right.
Correct calls on all of them, not just some of them.
Right.
That's just ridiculous then. Once you've opened that door and you've corrected some, you might as well correct all and fix all of them. Then there will still be complaints and all that sort of stuff, because there'll probably be ones that, oh no, that didn't need to be corrected. But at least we're not sitting there talking about it as much, probably.
For a play as critical as that, and no, that did not single-handedly mean the Chiefs won instead of the Bills. The Bills could well have lost. But that fix this.
Fix the stupid stuff that is easily fixable.
Yeah. There's got to be some way, especially if there, like they said, was a chip in the ball in some way. Is there some way you can image it? You could have like ball, like a chip on either side, so you know, like where the orientation is of the ball, or something.
Maybe they can have, like, I'm just making this up, but it sounds smart in my head. Maybe they can have an invisible laser where the first down line is, but then when something in that football crosses it, it kind of signals something.
Yeah.
You know, maybe.
There's got to be something with that, or a material. And now you don't want to mess too much with the material, because that literally gets into the nature of the game. You still want the ball. The Duke still needs to be the Duke, ultimately. But if there's some way you could put, like, you know, like maybe you put, seriously, like if you put like a chip on either end, and then maybe on the ends of the laces. But that way you could like 3D imagine it, like, okay.
I'm sure there's something you can do inside of it, though.
Right. It's something like that where you can image it so that you go, okay, if this chip is here and this chip is here, that means the ball is this. You can immediately come up with a 3D version of that and go, okay, that was a 4th down, or that's a 1st down. I think.
Yeah.
Work on it, folks. Come on.
My stock faller, I kind of, not really, but kind of feel bad for Cowboys fans right now. That franchise is tanking big time right now. I don't know if you watched the presser the other day with Schottenheimer getting introduced, and I mean, Jones was on another one. Both him and his kid, Stephen Jones, were on another one. And
Is there like a word we can't say on the radio?
I mean, they I don't know. I mean, it was all about, again, Jerry Jones. He turned it into about him. I don't think Stephen Jones knows the proper way to use air quotes in certain situations. I kind of feel bad for Schottenheimer at this point now because, I mean, I don't know. I just got hired, and when the guy, my boss, is up there talking about my hiring, and he uses phrases like, yeah, this is a risk, because I'm like, oh, thanks for having confidence in me, sort of thing. It just goes to what I think. Jerry Jones is still trying to prove that he thinks he's the smartest man in the room. He's the smartest man in football. All season was talking about him. He's not giving up his GM role. I mean, how many times was that brought up during the season? And I think this move was made mostly because he wants to prove that he knows what the heck he's doing. And I think it's going to fail miserably.
Oh boy.
And you put it in this perspective. Like, I saw this graph too, leading into that NFC Championship game. And it was like the last time all these NFC teams made a conference championship game. It's not even close. The Cowboys have the longest drought.
I know.
30 years. Or not 30 years, but somewhere around there. It's got to be 30. Close, yeah.
This will be, if they don't get in this upcoming year, this season is the 30th upcoming season. The 30th anniversary of their last conference championship appearance.
Yeah. For America's team.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what. That's why I don't, because I don't like the Cowboys. So part of me is like, yeah. But then it's like, the fans, you almost kind of feel a little bit bad for, because I know one of my best friends is a big Cowboys fan, but it's like, oof, you guys are in for a long haul, I think. I feel like too, with this type of hire, because this is a Jerry guy, sort of thing. If it doesn't work out in the first couple of years, don't expect him to fire.
No,
don't expect him to move on right away. He's going to double down on it.
Wow.
I don't. Oh, what is going on? What is going on?
In a weird way, it's almost a breath of fresh air in that we're not doing the Dion thing and going all freak out on that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe this removes a little bit of all Cowboys all the time. Like,
and then I guess on one positive is that, okay, we're annoyed by the Chiefs, but at least it's not the Cowboys doing what the Chiefs are doing.
That's true.
If you want to put it in that perspective.
Gosh, what if the Cowboys? What if they were? Well, I was so annoyed by them back in the mid-90s when they were winning all the time.
Yeah,
because they were good and they let you know they were good.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of insufferable at the time. I still remember my senior year, and I was in we're hanging on choir practice or something like that, and of course, everyone knows I'm a Vikings fan. I'm like, you know what? I am rooting for the Packers to beat the Cowboys because I hate the Cowboys. They're like, yeah, all right. I'm like, yes, because I was so sick of them. I would root for my general arch rival over the Cowboys.
Are you talking about that Packers
95 NFC Championship?
So my same buddy who's a Cowboys fan, I still remember this. He probably doesn't, because I remember stupid stuff in elementary school. We were in 4th grade. Mrs. Walhart. I was leading up to that game. Diehard Packers fan. My buddy Frank, Cowboys fan. She made him sit out in the hall for a little bit.
That's right. Yeah, I remember you said, God, it was that. That's how bad the Cowboys got in the mid-90s.
Mm-hmm.
It's like World War II level alliances here. Like, nope, we're all in this together, folks. We must beat the Cowboys. Packers, it's your turn.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let us down. And unfortunately, who's the guy, the Packers offensive lineman, I think it was, got knocked back and his head slammed on the
the
asphalt
turf.
I can picture it right now. What's his name? Jeff or John
Michaels? No.
Or is it Jurek or
Jerkovich was a defensive lineman.
Or maybe was it Jerkovich? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I remember that and it's still just I mean, they beat him fair and square, but still, that was so annoying.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if that were today, oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Mhm.
Yeah, what a joke of a team. Really, it's true. The funny thing is, think about it. Like of some of the most iconic teams, you would think these iconic the following ones would win a lot more. Cowboys, obviously, the Knicks, if they're finally good,
Mhm.
and then in the NHL, the Maple Leafs really are that the Maple Leafs should be essentially the Cowboys, Yankees, Lakers of the NHL. They haven't won anything since the 60s.
Mhm.
That's a drought. Um, uh, just because you're well known and you are in a big market and you have a lot of money does not mean you're going to win a championship. And that happens a lot more than we would think.
All right, those are your stock reports. We got to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more coming up after these quick words. case anybody was very curious, Pro Bowl rosters were finalized yesterday because that festivities begin tomorrow and such.
Okay.
Russell Wilson in the Pro Bowl.
Yay.
Drake May in the Pro Bowl. Woo. Yay. I like JJ Watt's thing. We might as well just change it to Pro Bowl participation. Yeah. At this point. So I mean, crying out loud.
I'm sorry, I've been this way. I'm sure you've been this way for a while. All Pro means more than Pro Bowl.
Oh yeah, like it doesn't upset me. It doesn't annoy me. It kind of annoys me. It doesn't like ruin my day because it means more to the kids. Like Hudson's all geeked up about it, and he was like, Drake May shouldn't have got in it. It should have been Bo Nix. And, listen, I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. I probably would have picked Bo Nix over Drake May, but,
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with any of it either.
No. Here's the issue I have, though. Not really an issue, but kind of dumb. So, Good Morning Football this morning, they posed a question. What skills competition would you want to see in the Pro Bowl games? I'm like, oh, that's a good question, right?
Uh-huh.
We had a social media competition as a selection and chess. That's the best we could do. Because I want to watch that.
A social media competition.
That was Kyle Brandt's pick. Don't know all what's on there. Peter Traeger picked chess. At least one Bob Bielema picked American Ninja Warrior because I think he used to host that show, didn't he? So, I mean, at least that's a physical activity over there. So,
I mean, chess seems wildly amusing given the participants. It's just it takes so long. And if we're talking captivating television, it's not chess.
Hey, I won 4th place, 3rd grade, school-wide chess competition. I don't want to watch it.
Exactly.
I don't want to watch it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Just dumb.
Yes.
Can we do better?
Yes.
We can do better
not
than this,
the
right?
sport, it's the entertainment value here.
Yeah. I mean, we could do better than these picks, people. Let's use your creativity and use your mind in a little bit better of a sense.
Slam dunk competition.
Yeah.
Let's mix it over. By the way, how jacked are you that Andre Jackson Jr. is repping the Bucks take on Mac McClung yet again?
I don't care about that stuff anymore, but Hudson's all geeked up about it.
He is?
So, oh yeah.
Wow.
I mean, so was I when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched Slam Dunk. I watched everything about the All-Star festivities. It doesn't do anything for me.
But the names are still that's the thing.
But he knows Andre Jackson Jr. That's the thing. So
I've been wondering about that. Like if I didn't live in Wisconsin and didn't regularly follow the Bucks, would I know Andre Jackson Jr.?
He won't know Max. Just because, I mean, yeah, he's won the last 2, but is he a star in the NBA? No.
He's a slam dunk guy, basically.
Yeah. So,
and then it's Castile, which he's actually had a pretty decent rookie year for the Spurs, but I mainly know him from UConn. And then there's the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like, where are the big stars again?
Yep. No, but that he will pay attention to the main stars or players on his favorite team. And it's like that's honestly all I cared about when it came to the Pro Bowl too. When I was a kid watching it, was like, okay, where's the Packer helmets? Because who's there in that?
Yep.
And
same thing.
Now it's not bad, with the flag football game and such. But some of these activities, like I still would like. I know they got a different version of it, but I miss the old quarterback skills competitions. Like I was just watching Peyton Manning's from, was it 2000? I think he was in it, sort of thing. Like those old school videos.
Yeah,
those were cool. Like the long distance throw. Who could chuck it the farthest? Favre just like winding up and just throwing it as hard as he can. Like I'm imagining myself doing that with a football, and it's like it goes end over end and probably goes 10 yards, and these guys can throw it 70 yards with a perfect spiral. It's just like you must have massive hands to be able to grip that and do that.
Yeah,
but.
I can't even admit. Yeah, my hands are on the small side. I can't grip one. Nope.
Give me the Nike whistle mini football with the tail at the end. Then we're talking. With the old commercial, wasn't it John Elway? It was like, he throws it out of the stadium. Remember that commercial?
Vaguely.
Yeah. They do still make those footballs. I found that out the other day. So I was trying to get Hudson pumped up about a Nerf whistle football, and he didn't really care. I'm like, dude, this was a thing when I was a kid. Trying to make that thing whistle. Yeah.
Oh, wait. I think I found it.
Yeah.
The Vortex Mega Flight commercial.
Yeah.
From 1996.
Nerf, right?
The new farthest flying Vortex Mega Flight. I'm John Elway. I set a world record by throwing the Vortex football over 90 yards.
Yep.
I'm not John Elway, but I'm going to smash John Elway's record with the new Vortex Mega Flight.
Yeah.
A new record over 100 yards. Awesome throw.
An awesome ball.
If you want to smash your own record, you want the new Vortex Mega Flight.
John always look on his face as the ball's going.
As a kid, why
like,
wouldn't
what?
As a kid, that's you wanted it instantly after that commercial. I did, and I got one for Christmas one year.
Oh my gosh.
And I wish I still had that football. It was purple and black. I still remember the color.
Yep. Oh boy. By the way, there's the Cush Vortex football commercial from '95.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, folks, if you want to spend a whole lot of time just going down a rabbit hole, start typing Elway football commercials. I mean, but here's the thing: once you start going down athlete commercials from like the '70s through the aughts, the high comedy kicks in real fast.
Like it's like I know I'm at that age now where it's just nostalgia and thinking back, but I mean, Nerf was so awesome back when we were kids.
Yes,
Oh
there were
my
so
God.
many of those back then.
Nerf was the king.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have a Nerf ball, what were you doing? Now it's like, whatever.
But I mean, yeah, that's what everyone had. I remember my friends had those. You
I had
see
a
those on the
Nerf
playground.
bow, the foam bow and arrow and all that. Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they should do? I got a cop. So it's kind of similar to American Ninja Warrior. It kind of is a little bit. But let's bring back the Gladiators, the TV show for the
Yes.
Pro Bowl. How about that?
Yes.
We got, somebody like we can have like the legends maybe being the Gladiators or something like that.
Could they team up, like make an NFL arrangement with this to happen?
When you're doing the intros, Nitro.
Yes.
Blaze. You could have like TJ Watt and TJ Watt's controlling the tennis ball shooter and just pelting people or something, or JJ doing that. And yeah. Let's bring back the American Gladiators. I mean, wasn't it didn't Nolan he was an announcer on there for a little bit, wasn't he? Before he got back into football and ruining the Lions roster?
Matt Millen?
Matt Millen, yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Millen was on there.
I think
on the
Mike
call.
Adamle was involved with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Bring back the American Gladiators, the gauntlet. Yeah, come on.
Yes.
The pedestal with the joust. Yeah.
See, that would make me more likely. I mean, again, if it's on ESPN, I can't watch. But if I could, I would be more likely to watch that.
I would watch football players participate in American Gladiators.
Now, you were just saying about what Hudson's thinking, a lot of this is being done for the kids to build up the next generation of NFL fans.
I watched American Gladiators as a kid.
Right. So you could, I mean,
I had one of those handheld games that took 2 AA batteries, American Gladiators. Were they Tiger Electronics or something like, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. You'd put 2 AA batteries in. It was like little handheld game. Yeah, I had an American Gladiator one.
Oh, yeah. Nintendo, circa 1988.
Was it Nintendo?
Or no, maybe not that. I'm seeing some pre-owned ones you can find on eBay. American Gladiators, Tiger Electronics handheld.
Yep.
It is right now on eBay for $12.
I might have to get that. No, I'm just kidding. I won't get that, but yeah.
Damaged, by the way.
Oh, okay. But no, I had that game.
Yeah. There are a lot of other options on there. So if you really do want to get it, though.
Oh, I just looked it up. Yep, there it is.
There are a lot of them out there. Just saying.
What was did you watch that as a kid?
Yes, I did.
What was your favorite event?
Ooh, okay. Just need to see the list because otherwise I'm going to forget the absolute.
I remember watching them and I'd always get mad if they didn't do a certain event. Like the football one was pretty intense at times or not the football one, but when they would try to get the ball into the basket, let's call it.
Yeah.
And it was like, you're going to tackle this guy and tackle him hard. That was always intense.
Let's see. Okay. So we had the crossbow. The balance beam one. The end was always fun. I will say that. I think
the maze was always boring for me. I didn't care about that.
I think Station 5, the softballs, the pump gun.
Okay, yeah.
I think, maybe 4 because that had the arrow rifle and the crossbow, which I know Station 1 had that too. But I think maybe 5 or what, something involving either the crossbow or like the pump guns.
Remember the Atmosphere? That was when they were in those rolling balls and you had to get into a little thing and then it would blow smoke once you were in there and you got a point. Or hang tough.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love that show.
Human Cannonball. You're on a rope and you're just swinging and trying to knock the person off. Powerball was the one I was thinking of. Yeah, Powerball. Yeah. That
Was that on TV 18 around here back then?
I don't know. It was in
1990?
Medford. And I think it was like on USA when I
Yeah.
was as a kid.
Oh, that might have been it. That's right. I think it was on cable.
Mhm.
Oh gosh, I love that.
I just know Nitro was my favorite American Gladiator.
Did I have a favorite
There's
one?
Nitro, there was Gemini, there was Blaze or Laser, and all. Yeah, I mean, now I'm just like probably quoting Dodgeball when he's going through his Dodgeball teams. So Nitro is my favorite, though.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know that I had one particular favorite one. I think it was more just like, can they do it? Can they do it? Can they do it? And of course, they never could. So I think I was always bummed out, like, oh, they're not gonna. Oh, again.
Yeah,
but it was all fun.
I loved Gladiators when I was a kid. American Gladiators.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Nitro.
That was Nitro, the ultimate American Gladiator's name.
Who is the most famous American Gladiator? I think Nitro just did a 30 for 30 or some sort of documentary too.
Trying to see, like, do they list someone right at the top? There's like the list of gladiators, obviously.
The definitive ranking of the American Gladiator. Oh boy, they got 80 of them on this list.
That's
Holy
a lot.
crap! I didn't even know there was 80 American Gladiators on this. Can I scroll to the bottom and down here? And some of these names are just ridiculous.
See, Nitro, Zap, and Laser were on from about 1989, 90 to 1996, 95 or so. So was Ice.
Yeah, Ice. I remember Ice.
Turbo as well.
Turbo.
So that might be one of the ones you're thinking of.
I could picture him.
Yeah.
I mean, Nitro was, there's no, I just blew by it. Nitro was, where'd it go? These stupid.
Dan Clark.
Yep. 14th he is on this list. He should be top 5 easily. Come on now. He is not 14th. Nitro was, come on. He was the dude. He was the dude. Number 1, who do they got for number 1? God, Siren was 2. Number 1 is, you're not going to tell me who number 1 is? Whatever, but.
After you watch this advertisement.
That's essentially what it is. So I don't have time for that, but yeah. I'd if they incorporate American Gladiator, I'd be all game for that. Pro Bowl. Then I'd watch it. But at this point, I'd rather watch the Puppy Bowl than a Pro Bowl activities.
Are you all ready for this year's Puppy Bowl?
I don't even know who's in it, but yeah.
I think because I remember Paul Lucas would get invited to the filming of it, which was several weeks in advance. But that's when he was on UniWatch. Of course, he left UniWatch. Now he's got his own Substack. He hasn't posted about it yet. I subscribe to it, and he has not yet talked about it. But then again, I'm not sure if that's necessarily up his alley. So we'll have to see. But I've not heard anything about this year's Puppy Bowl yet. Is the operative term.
Yeah.
Yet.
It's that time of year again, kids. Okay, we'll take a quick break, and we've got some picks and predicts. Badgers are back in action tonight. Badger Hoops taking on Maryland. We'll make that pick amongst other ones as well, plus some other things we want to hit up before we wrap up this Wednesday morning. Stick around. We'll be back after these quick words. You know, I would be good if they did a little over-the-top arm wrestling in the Pro Bowl. Have you ever seen the movie Over the Top?
No.
Oh, come on, Luke. We need to have a day of like 80s Stallone movies with you.
I mean, I've seen the most important ones, obviously.
Over the Top is a cultural classic, iconic. You need to watch that.
Wow, I'm looking at the stuff right now. Oh,
I think it's
my
even
God.
free on YouTube to watch the whole movie, for crying out loud. I mean, Hawk, come on.
Ooh, I found the trailer. I will have to watch that for sure.
You need to watch Over the Top. You got to put that one in there.
Somehow I missed that one. I mean, 87, I would have been aware of it, but it probably just slipped through with like all the other like kind of action movies at the time. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to call it action, but I guess it is kind of action. But it's, I mean, it's arm wrestling comp with a truck driver. So, but
let's see. Oh, I know the theme from that. Meet Me Halfway by Kenny Loggins.
oh, I'm sure you would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know
duh.
the song. Yeah, it's very corny for that type of
Meet
movie.
Me
so
Halfway.
yeah.
Back when Kenny Loggins was doing like every soundtrack. Hey, Sammy Hagar's on there. Frank Stallone's on the soundtrack. Of course he is.
Why wouldn't he be?
Frank Stallone. Bad Night, Nite.
Yeah, let's do. Okay, you need to like just take a day, put some tissues up the bloody nose, and watch some Stallone movies from the 80s.
Received 3 nominations in the Golden Raspberry Awards in 1988. Sly was nominated for Worst Actor. He lost to Bill Cosby for Leonard Part 6. David Mendenhall won for both Worst Supporting Actor and Worst New Star. There you go.
Nice.
Rotten
Put that
Tomatoes
up on the shelf. Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes has an approval rating of 32%.
It's a movie you have to watch.
I know,
and certain people will appreciate it. Like once in a while, I'll get in the mood and I'm like, you know what? Let's turn on a little Over the Top and watch some arm wrestling.
The thing is, like, when movies start getting like so bad they're good, then I get bizarrely interested in that stuff. The one exception, of course, being Rocky 5, for which I still wish I had my 90 minutes back. But I think America agrees on that. But like bad movies could like when in the zone of this could be a Mystery Science Theater thing, and I know this isn't quite to that degree, like 70s like giant spider invasion level stuff. But okay.
I'd be curious to know because I was too young then. But like when that movie came out, were there other truck drivers out there that wanted to all of a sudden install that little pulley system he had in his truck to, you know, get some exercise in while he's driving? If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But anybody who knows, I'm like, was there, you know, because sometimes in this day and age, if you see it on TV, everybody's got this rage to do something like that. Anybody who was a truck driver back in the 80s after that movie come out, did you have this like insane urge, like, okay, I gotta get this weight lift pulley system so I can work on my one arm and just, you know, have biceps 3 times the size of the other one there because I'm working on my arm wrestling.
By the way, according to the script writer, quote, it's an action love story with the emphasis on action.
Okay. So it's like Die Hard's a Christmas movie. Sort of thing.
Sort of, kind of, like depends on how you want to look at it.
Okay.
There's the international one has a picture of him with like his fist right up near the front, and there's a dove behind him, and then a truck barreling through the bottom.
Oh yeah. I mean, he goes to win a new semi truck. Hawk Trucking. Come on.
Oh boy. Oh boy. This is fun.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. It's definitely on the bucket list for you. So
one of many.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's do some picks and predicts. Brought to you by the Elbow Room. Don't forget Wednesday's trivia night. So if you're looking for something to do on a Wednesday night, which is tonight, head on over to the Elbow Room, located right next to the Banbury Place in Eau Claire. Let's start off with some NBA games before we get to some college games here. Let's first do Cleveland at Miami.
Cleveland at Miami.
Remember, Jimmy suspended for the indefinitely.
I'll keep going with the Cavaliers.
Yep, I'll go with the Cavs too. Denver at the Knicks.
I'll take the Nuggets.
Oh, I'll go Knicks for this one. Let's do Dallas at New Orleans, and Dallas is only a 1.5 point favorite.
Yeah, injuries have been an issue. And then New Orleans is also New Orleans. I'll take the Pelicans in a mini upset.
I'll go Dallas. How about OKC at Golden State?
Oh boy, I'll take the Thunder.
I'm going to take Thunder too. T-Wolves at the Suns.
Suns have been better of late. Gosh, the Wolves are hot and cold. I never know what to make of them on any given night. I will go with the Timberwolves.
I'm going to go with the Suns tonight. Let's do some college hoops. We've got number 4, Alabama, taking on number 14, Mississippi State. Mississippi State, a 1.5-point favorite.
Yeah, interesting on that one. I'll go with Stark Vegas on this one.
All right. I'm going to go with the Crimson Tide.
Okay.
Let's do... I'm trying to see if there's any other ones I want to do before we get to the Badger
big one. Yeah,
to the Badger, which Badgers are underdogs in this one, by the way. But let's do Auburn at LSU. Auburn number 1.
I'll still take Auburn. I mean, that seems like this could be one of those, like, oh my gosh, they're storming the. No, I'll take Auburn and be safe about it.
Used to this might have been a good matchup, but both unranked, but it's a close one. Virginia at Miami. Miami's favored by 1.5.
I'll go Miami.
Yeah, I'll go with the U as well. And then let's just do, we'll do the Badgers. Badgers number 17 visiting Maryland. Maryland 5.5-point favorites.
Interesting. Terps.
You're gonna go with the Terps?
Yeah, I think there's going to be energy for this one. They're moving in the right direction, and yeah, I think so.
How does your boy Scott Van Pelt gonna feel about this game, for crying out loud?
He was already talking about it on the last pod.
Yeah,
like they're going to go nuts for this one. Like, yep, stuff's happening there. His bigger issue is with the campus that like students haven't been on campus since like early December. Like, is anyone going to be there? But I think they will. I think, don't they? I think I'm trying to remember what he said in the podcast, but I think SV Pod, for those wondering, I think maybe they actually are coming back like right in time for this.
Okay.
So that's part of what I remember listening to that going, I don't know how much of a shot Wisconsin's gotten and understanding how good the Badgers are. I think this is going to be the Maryland's game. So
looking at Maryland's last 2 games, a nice win against, at that point, UCLA was 22. They lost to Northwestern. They edged out Nebraska. They had a good win against Illinois, beating them by 21. Barely edged out Indiana in their last game, 79-78. So I'm going to go with Wisconsin with the victory tonight.
Okay.
So, and that Badger offense is finally getting some attention out there. When you could say the Badgers have a top 30 offense in the entire country in terms of points per game, that's pretty darn good.
Unconventional. I mean,
10 more points per game they're averaging than the national championship team.
Well, the bet total is 152.5. So do the math on that. That's like basically what, 76 per team approximately.
Yeah.
And it's looking at the top 25 matchups and all of the over-under totals. The only one higher is Alabama, Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a decent number of top 25 matchups tonight. So that tells you what you should have in store. Should be a lot of threes tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that could easily just come down to that, right? But yeah, you talk about points per game. Wisconsin's averaging 82.5. Maryland averaging 83.4 points against. Badgers giving up 70. Maryland giving up 65.4. A lot of similarities, though, across the board with this. Steals wise, Maryland's averaging 8 steals per game. Oof. Badgers 5.4. So
hopefully they're good.
I think it's going to be a good game, though. I really do. I think it should be a good one.
Yeah.
And if Maryland wins, they will leapfrog Wisconsin for 4th in the Big Ten standings. Because Wisconsin's 3 games back with a 6-3 conference record. Maryland's 3.5 back with a 6-4 conference record. So right now it's Michigan State running away with it.
Yeah. They looked pretty good last night against the Gophers, who have also looked much better of late. But yeah, last night Michigan State was Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Dang, but it's like every year with Michigan State, isn't it? It's like there's not a whole lot of hype surrounding them, or they suffer a couple losses early in the season and everybody's down on them. And then it's like, nope, they're back.
They are.
You know, they lose to Kansas at 3rd game of the season. Kansas was number 1 at that point. My Penny Hardaway's Memphis beats them, and everybody was like, ugh, and then they haven't lost since.
Yeah. Well, it's a good coach, good program.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that.
That's why it's like the Cardinals. Just never count them out.
I mean, props to Purdue also for regenerating themselves, sticking around. They didn't fall off the face of the earth post Edie. I mean, not that you would expect Purdue to suddenly become a bad program. No, but hey, I mean, they're going to be a contender going down the road. See, Badgers right now 5 seed in Lenardi's bracketology.
Oh, I did not see a bracketology yet. So
Came out
Badgers
yesterday.
5?
They are a 5 seed right now.
Bull. They're going to be higher than
They're in a
that.
5-12 matchup right now.
No.
Yep. Marquette, I believe, is a 2 seed, if I recall correctly.
That would make sense. They're 9th in the country. So, okay. Well, they'll be higher than that.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling for that. Got a feeling. So, other college games really quick. We know Stouts in action going up against Lacrosse. Blue Gold's taking on River Falls, the men's team looking to avenge an earlier season loss against them, coming off of a big win Saturday night. That's a team that should start getting votes for top 25. Just saying. They've got multiple wins against ranked opponents now. Just say they should. So
makes sense.
But they're going to be on the road against River Falls. Women's will be at the Sonotag tonight. DP Danitz, they're up next. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your Wednesday. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. We'll talk to you then.